Smith.
I believe there's power in the name of Jesus, and there's power when God's people join together in prayer. So please join with me. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. I thank you, Lord, for your goodness and your faithfulness, for your mercy, for your kindness. Lord, I thank you that we can continue to make memories here at this track. Memories that have been made here for generations, and now we have the opportunity for that to continue. Lord, I thank you for all of those that have worked so hard to restore and revive this place to its former glory. And Lord, I thank you for the freedom to stand here today and to speak the name of the one who can bring restoration and revival to each one of us, and that is Jesus Christ. God, I thank you for the courageous men and women that defend our freedoms by serving in our military, and for the law enforcement officers, and for all those who so sacrificially serve our communities. Lord, I ask that you bless them and that you keep them, that you strengthen them and defend them and protect them. And Father, I lift up a special prayer for all those that were affected by the tornadoes last night in Missouri and Kentucky. Those that have lost property and precious loved ones, Lord, let us keep them in our thoughts and prayers and do what we can to help them. And Lord, may you comfort them as only you can. And your word says that you are a very present help in times of trouble. So I pray that you help them to recover and heal their hurting hearts. And Lord, lastly, we ask that you surround and protect all the drivers and their crews today, Lord. Although there can only be one victory in this race, Lord, let us be reminded that we can all have victory through faith in your Son, Jesus Christ. And it is in his mighty name that I pray. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome worship leader and fourth grade teacher from Gastonia, North Carolina, Megan Richard.
At the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this afternoon's NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at the North Wilkesboro Speedway for the running of today's Window World 250. 250 laps around this 5/8 mile short track in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And today we are short track racing again for the Truck Series, where we have had quite a few incidences take place on short track so far in the Truck Series season, or tracks 1 mile and less in length. We had quite a few cautions at Rockingham, Martinsville, of course. Bristol, not quite as many. Finished on a long green flag run, but the first two stages were very start and stop, so expecting quite a few yellows today. With that being the case, we shouldn't see a lot of tire fall off. This is a freshly repaved surface from just a couple of seasons ago, so starting up towards the front will be key for this race today. Qualifying was rained out earlier this morning. Practice was on for about the first 40 minutes until The rain ended up coming, washing out the remainder of practice, but quite a few of these teams did get quite a few laps this morning. Whatever rubber would have been laid down from this morning and anything from yesterday with the Cup Series on track as well as the Cars Tour race, unfortunately that has been rubbed off. So it'll be a primarily one groove racetrack. At least for the start, we will be seeing the groove widen out towards the wall as we get later into the 250 laps today. Corey Heim is on the pole trying to go for his 4th win of the season. We've seen 7 different winners in the Craftsman Truck Series this season, including 3 Cup Series regulars. One of those Cup Series regulars is in the field today, that being Kyle Busch. Busch won his only race at Atlanta Motor Speedway earlier in the spring. He'll be starting on the front row alongside Corey Heim. With qualifying getting rained out, they do go off the metric system based off of owner's points as well as where the driver ranked in the most recent race. The 07 truck was ran by William Byron last week, had a 3rd place finish at the Kansas Speedway, and obviously in owner's points has had a pretty good run of it. A couple of wins already this year. Kyle Busch winning in that truck. Kyle Larson also winning in that truck, hence the reason why Busch is on the front row. There are a couple drivers dropping to the rear of the field for the start of the race today. Both of those being from Front Row Motorsports. Lane Riggs will be starting deep in the field, and Chandler Smith will be dropping in the back for unapproved adjustments. We'll get to see them come from the back to the front. Should be quick in this one. Lane Riggs had a top 3 at North Wilkesboro last season, and Chandler Smith was fastest in practice earlier this morning. So look out for Front Row Motorsports to compete for the win. We'll go through the rest of the starting lineup as follows on screen. Again, row 1, Corey Heim and Kyle Busch, each looking for another win on the season in the Truck Series. Sammy Smith making his 2nd truck start of the season on the inside of row 2 in the 7 for Spire Motorsports, with Gio Ruggiero, rookie, to his outside. Jake Garcia is off to a top 10 start in the point standings early in the season. He's inside of row 3 alongside Stuart Friesen. Daniel Hemrick with Grant Enfinger make up row 4. In row 5, rounding out the top 10 will be Caden Honeycutt and Brent Cruz making his first start of the season in the 1 truck for Tricon Garage. In row 6 are going to be both of the Thor Sport trucks. Ben Rhodes and Ty Majeski. Should look forward for Majeski to compete for the win today. Great short track racer in the Truck Series, especially on these flatter ovals. Tyler Ankrum with Chandler Smith will line up in row 7. I mentioned already that Smith is dropping to the rear of the field for the start of the race. In row 8 will be Matt Crafton and Matt Mills. Row 9 will be Dawson Sutton and Raja Karuth. And behind them in row number 10 will be Connor Mosak and Andres Perez. Tony Breidinger with Jack Wood will make up row number 11. Row 12 for Connor Jones and Tanner Gray. Spencer Boyd, Derek White in row number 13. Row 14 for Lane Riggs and Tyler Tomasi. Frankie Muniz along with Luke Baldwin in row number 15. 3rd time we've seen Baldwin in the 66 truck this season. He's been impressive with the speed side of things. Unfortunately hasn't been able to make it to the finish of a race yet. We'll see if he can do that today. Jason Alexander making his first truck start of the season alongside Patrick Emmerling in row number 17 and row 18 rounding out the field. Or sorry, that was row 16. Then in row 17 rounding out the field, Norm Benning and Ryan Roulette. 34 trucks making up today's 250 lap race at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Chris Sims caught up with Ty Majeski moments ago. I'll rewind that interview so you can listen in its full.
Majeski right now, but I think this is the perfect medicine coming to a short track here at North Wilkesboro. Had a chance to practice but not qualify. So how are you feeling about that truck? You told me a little bit earlier, you're kind of all over the place with the balance.
Yeah, we were on all sides of it with our SolarSense Ford F-150, but confident we made the right adjustments here between practice and the race. Wish we had a little bit more track position starting 12th today. So, yeah, like you mentioned, a little bit of a rough stretch, but one good thing is the speed has been there. So, no reason to be concerned yet, I don't think. So, happy to be coming to a short track here for a repay. This place puts on really good racing, so excited to see it at work today.
And time rolls off 12. We'll see how he gets it done out there tonight, Jamie.
Well, Ryan, you heard there. The good thing is he feels like he has the speed in this truck.
Yeah, and I never count Ty Majeski out. He's a great race car driver. Was an amazing late model racer. It's been great to see him, progress so much in trucks, right? Defending series champion. I look forward to him being really well. We talked about his short tracks and everything, but I think what makes him special at short tracks is his long run speed. He always seems to be able to hold on a little bit longer than everybody else. And I think with the track temp being how it is, him starting mid-pack, I think you get to the lap 20 mark or so, you're really going to start to see him move forward like we've seen in the past.
And the heat, the temperature, I really think that's a big deal for this long run, because last year the tires didn't fall off that much. We saw good speed throughout practice with the tires, but It's getting hotter and hotter, and that's just going to get worse and worse.
And it is, and and every year you go to a newly paved racetrack, tire fall-offs becomes more and more. So you're really going to see, I think, a lot of comers and goers today.
Looking forward to that. Well, it's time now to go trackside once again for the most famous words in racing.
And now, here to say the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome 1995 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion with 28 career Truck Series wins, Mike Skip, Wilkesboro Speedway. Drivers, start your engine. Let's go.
250 laps of short track action is coming up next from the company we call North Wilkesboro Speedway.
Third year of the Craftsman Truck Series hosted an event here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway since its return to the NASCAR schedule through the Top 3 Premier Series. Xfinity Series hasn't had their turn yet at this racetrack. Hopefully they will in years to come. But as far as the Truck Series, again, third consecutive year. Kyle Larson won the first race here. Last year's winner was Corey Heim. We'll see who's going to win the race this season. Heim is starting, of course, on the pole position with qualifying getting rained out earlier. He's already won 3 races this season, very close to winning even more than that. You would think he is the odds-on favorite to win today's race, but he's not going to be who I'm going to take. Now, I will say I almost pivoted to saying, you know what, I should probably just take Corey Heim because he's starting on the pole with qualifying getting rained out. I like the fact that he's starting at the front of the field, and I like the track position. I don't trust Kyle Busch to win the race in the 07 because we haven't really seen the 07 have race-winning speed, even with Cup drivers behind the wheel of that racetrack this season. I know Kyle Larson won at Homestead, but he only led 20 laps. Corey Heim was the quickest truck in that race, and I'd argue Lane Riggs was even quicker than him in that race as well on the long run. But Kyle Larson was able to master the end of that final stage, manage his tires a little bit better than Lane Riggs, and as well as the fact that Corey Heim had some engine problems with the truck shutting on and off. Larson at Bristol didn't lead a single lap, finished second, but again, he just wasn't the quickest truck. It was Chandler Smith that day who dominated and got the win, and that was on a short track. So I think Kyle Busch will have a good day today, top 5, but I don't see him winning or having the fastest vehicle. Although Corey Heim is probably the favorite for the win today, and I should take Corey Heim, I was bouncing between Lane Riggs and Ty Majeski coming into the day. I didn't like the speed that Ty Majeski showed in practice earlier. You just heard from him moments ago that he really didn't like the balance of the race truck. They've made some adjustments to try to help that coming into the race, but I would imagine even though he could be a competitor for the win coming into it, I don't feel as confident as I would have earlier in the week. So I'm going to stick with Front Row Motorsports, and it's close for me to take Lane Riggs or Chandler Smith. During the week, I would have leaned more towards Lane Riggs over Chandler Smith, but based off of practice and the speed that 38 truck had earlier today, I'm going to take Chandler Smith for the win here at the last second. So Chandler Smith is my pick for the race win here today in the Truck Series race at North Wilkesboro Speedway. You can vote for who you think is going to win today's race in the chat poll that I'm about to put up because I just realized that I don't have it up yet, and that will remain open until the end of Stage 2 per usual. Truck race. So we'll put Kyle Busch in there. Put Corey Heim, of course. I'll put Chandler Smith in there. And then I'll also, instead of other this week, I will put Lane Riggs. And just ask you who you think is most likely to win. Likely to win. There we go. All right, so I asked who was most likely to win the truck race here today at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Again, your voting options are between Kyle Busch, Corey Heim, Chandler Smith, or Lane Riggs. So who is most likely to win here today? Usually I would have other in there for you guys to vote for somebody other than who's in the poll. Other than Ty Majeski, I'd be shocked if anybody other than those 5 win this race today. And it's going to be tough for front row starting deep in the field. And even Majeski starting in the 12th spot, but there are only so many competitive trucks in the Truck Series field. So even starting deep in the pack, I think they can get up there. They're definitely not going to score that many stage points, especially in stage 1. But this is one of the longer Truck Series races of the season. Just over a half-mile oval, 250 laps. Remember that Bristol Truck Series race was 250 laps on a half-mile oval this year. The summer Truck Series race at Bristol, 200 laps. Martinsville, half-mile short track, that was 200 laps. So 250 on a just slightly bigger than a half-mile oval. Again, this is definitely one of the longer races, the longest short track race of the season. So long run speed will be a thing, as mentioned in the broadcast booth by Michael Waltrip and Ryan Blaney, even though the tire wear shouldn't be very high with this surface just getting repaved within the last couple of years. Robert Goodrich, Gregory Bradley, and Tim Brown, welcome into the stream. You guys are the first in the chat below. It's our first of 2 live commentary streams today. Our next one will be at 5:30 p.m. Eastern later on. 5 p.m. Eastern, excuse me, later on with the heat races taking place at North Wilkesboro Speedway. NASCAR.com was showing 5:30 on me earlier today, even though it was scheduled for 5 o'clock when I put the schedule out earlier in the week. So I'll have to look at that again towards the end of this stream, so I'll let you know for sure what time that we are starting that, but between 5 and 5:30. Whenever it starts. If they go on the air at 5:30, we start at 5:30. If we go on the air at 5, we start at 5. It's kind of the same thing that happened yesterday for our practice and qualifying pit stop competition live stream that we had for the live commentary there. On NASCAR.com, it said earlier in the week that it was starting at 4, and then it got pushed back to 4:30. So it might have been the same case here on the local listings. So they don't have coverage of the race going on. I'm not really going to have anything to add on to it. Stage splits today will be 70 laps in stages 1 and 2, 110 laps in stage 3. Pit road speed 30 miles per hour here at North Wilkesboro. And the fuel window is 120 to 130 laps. So they will not have to pit for fuel purposes in stages 1, 2, or even 3, which is the longest of the 3. And that is where all the pit strategy is going to come into play. Do you take no tires, 2 tires, 4 tires when pitting just before or right at the end of each stage today? It's where we'll probably see the most movement in the field. A couple of the faster trucks obviously on the front row. Some of them starting further back. We'll see where they can meet in the middle as they get closer to the finish line. Definitely going to be fun to watch Lane Riggs and Chandler Smith try to navigate through the field. It's going to be tough, though, on a short track to get through there cleanly without damaging their vehicles. Make for an interesting one. Pace truck will be pulling to pit road this time by. Crowd is on their feet. Pretty good one at the North Wilkesboro Speedway this afternoon on All-Star Race Weekend. Green flag is going to be waving and the 10th Truck Series race of 2025 will be underway. Corey Heim elects the outside lane for the initial start as our pole sitter today, so Kyle Busch will be inside of row 1. Green flag is in the air and we are underway. Great launch for the 2 Tricon garage trucks on the outside of Ruggiero and Heim. Well clear of the 3rd truck on the outside of Stuart Friesen well before getting into the first turn. Big block by the 7. Sammy Smith trying to get down to the bottom of the racetrack as soon as he could on Jake Garcia. Keep from losing any spots. Corey Heim leads lap 1 from the pole. Kyle Busch holds on to second with Ruggiero in 3rd. After this opening lap of 70 in stage 1. Heim going to lead lap 2 by several truck lengths over Busch as well. Give it about 10, 15, 20 laps or so in and see who the biggest movers are in the very early going of the race. Showing a replay of the initial start. It looked like there was a bit of a stack up in the middle of the pack on the bottom. Tony Breidinger got hit from behind by the 44. Log jammed everything up there. Connor Jones, I believe, in the 44 truck for Nice Motorsports this week. Stuart Friesen looking to make a pass for fourth. Accomplished short track racer at the Truck Series level. Making moves early on. Kyle Busch is losing time to Corey Heim, but Jared Ruggiero's all over Busch. Busch slides very loose up off of turn 2 as he tries to pick up the throttle. See quite a few of these trucks in that middle to upper groove really sliding the rear end of their vehicles around as they try to get the power down in the second half of the corner. Track temps are going to continue to rise just a bit as we get further along in the afternoon. Sun is out, it is shining. And the weather's only going to get slightly warmer as the race moves on. Ruggiero with a clean pass that last time through turns 1 and 2 on Kyle Busch for second, so he'll quickly pull away from him. And we'll see what kind of lap times he can have compared to his teammate who continues to lead. Battle on track for 7th between Cruz and Grant Enfinger. Enfinger up on the outside, Cruz on the bottom, but Enfinger's the one attacking for position. Cruz a little tight on that white line of the racetrack. Almost made contact with the 9 in the center of the corner. Short track, of course, tight confines. Probably going to see contact quite a bit throughout the race, especially as we get later in later. These drivers become more and more desperate to make these passes. Majeski up 3 positions from 12th to 9th. Chandler Smith nor Lane Riggs have cracked the top 20 yet as we complete lap 9. 1.9 second lead between Heim over his teammate Ruggiero. Make that 2 seconds now. 2.6 seconds back to Kyle Busch in 3rd. Stuart Friesen is 2.7 seconds back in 4th. And then Sammy Smith is in 5th at 4 seconds off the race lead. So Heim already putting a big advantage over the rest of the field behind him. Lane Riggs will crack the top 20 first, up to 20th place. Did not take long for him to go up several positions. Luke Baldwin's also up 14 positions, started 30th. And he is to 16th, so look out for Luke Baldwin if he can keep his truck clean for Thor Sport Racing. Again, his 3rd start of the Truck Series season. Still trying to make it to the finish line for the first time, but he has shown some great speed. Had great speed at Martinsville earlier this year. Was running up towards the front at one point early in Stage 3 before getting taken out in an incident. Nothing of his own doing. So the raw pace should be there again today. Chandler Smith up 8 positions from the start of the race, one more than his teammate Riggs, but he started just a little bit further back because of having to actually drop to the rear of the field for the start of the race. So Smith's only up to 23rd. Couple more spots gained the last couple laps by Riggs. He's to 18th. Baldwin remains in 16th. Those 14 spots gained are the most of any driver in this part of the race. Tanner Gray starting in the back half of the field is up 7 spots to 17, so there is definitely movement in the middle and back of the pack. Not as much up at the very front of the field, outside of a few positions here and there. During the midst of talking about the movement by the front row motorsport trucks at the back of the pack, Kyle Busch has fallen to 4th after starting 2nd. Stuart Friesen a couple laps ago was able to make the pass for 3rd place. Cruz and Enfinger were able to move up a spot to 7th and 8th as well in the midst of their battle for position amongst one another. Anchorman Rhodes are starting to fall back in the running order a bit. Kyle Busch is already 4 seconds off the lead, and looking at his lap times, that last lap he ran a 19.332, which was slower than Sammy Smith trailing behind him, and Smith seems to be holding up Garcia and Cruz. Enfinger all right there. They're very tightly bunched behind the 5th place truck. But even they're creeping up on Kyle Busch in the 07, so they're definitely going to have to make some massive adjustment changes to Busch's truck, and he's going to have to try to do a good job to keep his track position. We still have 54 laps to go in Stage 1, so if we don't get a caution for incident to allow any sort of chances to go off strategy, make some pit stops for most of the field, not going to be a lot of opportunities already to make adjustments to these trucks. I would expect most of these teams to really only pit twice in this race, maybe 3 times if you're in the back half, because you can afford to do it. Heim has already gotten into lap traffic. He's lapped Ryan Roulette, Norm Benning, and Derek White in the opening laps. Currently working lap number 19. The slightly sub 20-second lap times, Jason Alexander now goes a lap down also. Starting at the back for Chandler Smith and Lane Riggs, another reason they got to get moving forward quickly so they don't go lap down in this first stage. Getting stuck back in traffic with the fastest truck in the field right now, Corey Heim, leading the way and dominating. 2.4 second lead, full screen commercial break on Fox Sports 1 currently airing. Stuart Friesen remains in third, Kyle Busch fourth, Sammy Smith in fifth, Jake Garcia is in sixth. Seventh for Brent Cruz, Grant Enfinger eighth, Ty Majeski ninth, and Ben Rhodes rounds out the top 10. Then Tyler Ranker's in 11th, Caden Honeycutt 12th, Daniel Hemrick in 13th, 14th for Roger Caruth and Matt Kraft in 15th. Lane Riggs in 16th, Luke Baldwin 17th, Tanner Gray 18th, Chandler Smith 19th, and Matt Mills in 20th. Connor Jones in 21st, 22nd for Dawson Sutton, Andres Perez 23rd, Connor Mosack 24th, and Jack Wood 25th. Spencer Boyd in 26th, Tony Breidinger 27th, Patrick Emmerling is now the last truck in the lead lap in 28th. Frankie Muniz first truck a lap down in 29th, 30th for Tyler Tomasi, Jason Alexander 31st, Ryan Roulette 32nd, Norm Benning 33rd, and Derek White 34th, rounding out our 34 truck field. Lap 23 of 70 in stage 1, lap 23 of 250 entirely in this race. We'll take our first break. You're listening live on KRC to the Craftsman Truck Series Window World 250 at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Still green flag from the very start to where we're at in the race currently. Still the first third of stage 1. And already just over a 3-second lead for Heim. Can it be Heim time yet again? It's won a third of the races so far this season, 3 for 9. Left some on the table, still many more to go.
Welcome back to the Window World 250 for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Corey Heim now has extended his lead to over 3.5 seconds. But meanwhile, our eyes have been on Lane Riggs, guys. During break, we noted he's up to 15th and still digging.
I think a successful stage 1 for Lane is going to be getting to the top 10. Okay, so you've already made up 12 positions. You're really pressuring Roger right now. There's a couple spots right in front of you. It's going to get a little harder as you go. As the tires wear out, that bottom lane is going to be a little bit tougher to complete the pass. You see him try and just can't put the power down. He might be able to clear Roger here in the next lap, but I think if Lane can get to the top 10, he's going to be in a real good spot setting up the rest of the race.
What about that?
Different paint scheme, right, Michael?
What about that? It's really cool. He's a college graduate, UNC Charlotte. You see Charlotte on the side of that truck. He's representing his alma mater.
That's right. I visited college a couple times.
I did take my friends
Visited.
with them. Didn't enroll or anything.
Yeah, that was me. I visited once.
Exception.
Yes, I would say both are true. But I'm going to tell you something else we have to watch is Chandler Smith. We know how good he was in practice, and there's that 30-inch truck. He's just one truck behind Lane Riggs, so he's making up some great time too. That 38, 34, and 11, every week, that just seems to be the story. And we're going to throw Caden Honeycutt into the mix here because he's got a really fast truck early as well.
Caden Honeycutt up to 12th. So Corey Heim leads Gio Ruggiero right there in the 17. Kyle Busch started on the front row. He slid back to 5th. What are they saying in the 17 camp? Josh?
Well, Jamie, for so many of these tracks we go to, it's the first time for a lot of the rookies. Not the case for Gio Ruggiero. First time here in a truck, but he's had some pro late models, some late model races here. So he came here today with a good baseline of this track. And the good thing about the progression of him through the season is Jeremy Donnelly says he's gotten to the point where the racing is now second nature. Now they can get more to the weeds when it comes to the racetrack. But we're seeing him catch his stride. 3 top 10s in the last 4 races. Came over the radio a few minutes ago and just said he fired off 3, but feels good about that truck. He's riding in second place right now, Jamie.
Yeah, riding in second. And you see Stuart Friesen in third. He's starting to close the gap a little bit. I like his line. He's running a little bit higher entry than Gio into turn 1 and 2, getting a little bit better run off the top. And he's starting to work the middle lane of 3 and 4, which I really like, trying to get out of the wake Well, there you went back to the bottom and maybe eat my words. But, you know, I think Stewart's going to be someone that you really have to pay attention to as this race goes on. A smart race car driver, been doing it for a long time, understanding the track changing. The track's going to continue to change during this race, and those best guys are going to be able to figure out what they need to do to continue changing with the racetrack.
You know, we talked about Stewart having a bit of a bump in the road. He corrected things last week at Kansas with a top 5 finish. He's got the speed, but he had some rough goes at it in a few weeks before that. So this isn't surprising at all to see that 52 truck, that truck up front. He says that they have better equipment than they ever had. He just has to figure out how to take advantage of it.
You know what I love about that Helmer Reason Racing, Michael? They do everything themselves. They don't purchase anything from anyone. They build all those trucks in-house. But by the way, it's just 25 minutes away. So it's a home deal for them to have a good showing here, be a good shot in the arm, and a good follow-up from Kansas. Corey Heim continues to lead by almost 5 seconds now. Incredible effort.
Yeah,
Only driver to lead laps in every race this season.
I'm sorry, Jamie. I just look at the lap times and Corey Heim, and even though he's in traffic, he's still a tenth and a half faster than everybody else right now. So that truck is just amazing. Corey does a great job in it week in and week out. You know, we were just talking during the break, the great job that he did in the Cup race in Kansas last week. You know, really had a great run. I think he finished 13th in it, and just was more respectful all day. Found out how to get his car better through the day. And there's, you know, these trucks and cup cars are so different nowadays. You know, there used to be a little bit more similarities to them before this generation of cup cars, but jumping in and out, you know, and running up and down that weekend, he just really learned and did a great job. And right now he's just in a hornet's nest, you know, trying to pick his way through. But luckily, you know, he's got a over 5 second lead that he can kind of just be careful here. But at the same time, we're 30 laps into the stage break. He wants to put as much trucks a lap as he can, right? To just eliminate guys, trying to get the gap to second place, so where it makes it a little less stressful.
This is just what we've seen all season long. Talked about it endlessly, that this is a tough guy. Winning on Sunday. You know, Blaney, when you showed up and did the special things you did in Xfinity Series and got to Cup, we knew you were going to be a Cup winner. Now, you're not only that, you're a Cup champion. You got to see a lot of the same things in Corey Heim.
Well, I love looking at, you know, racers, and I can say this now, I love looking at young racers now that I'm older and, you know, really see their talents. Enfinger, Majeski, Tyler Ankrum right here battling all for 8th, 9th, 10th right now. Lane Riggs is just outside your screen. There he is right there, continuing to work his way through the field. But you can see all the different lanes that these guys are running. You know, gosh, there's 5, 6 truck right here trying to get in line, and you kind of see this right now. You get this little stack, right? Enfinger's 2.5 seconds back of Brent Cruz, and then you got Majeski, Ankrum, Riggs, Rhodes right there, you know, kind of on his tailgate, and everyone's just trying to search for grip. You know, 25 laps on these tires, everyone's trying to figure out where to go, what the lanes are doing, and that's when you get great battles like this, when the track gets a little wide.
What a battle between Grant Enfinger, Ty Majeski. That's for 8th. They were slicing and dicing their way around Frankie Muniz, the slower truck on the inside. Contact.
Bump and run.
Wrong horn there.
It's just helping him out a little bit.
Yeah, tried to help him speed up off the corner.
But that looked a little tight, so he was trying to help him turn on.
Not make it work. Let me see. Majeski still pounding Grant Enfinger.
And Enfinger's trying, right? He's really stoked was trying to work that 2.5 lane in 3 and 4 and getting right to the edge of the grip, you know, and he's trying to just clean that 3rd lane off and searching for grip. He's struggling a little bit right now, so he's really trying to figure out, you know, how can I maximize my truck? As we have a truck stalled, off the exit of turn 2.
Caution flag.
Yep.
Caution is out here for the first time. We have a truck stalled on the inside. There it is right there.
22.
It's that Black Rhino
Yep.
sponsor, Tyler Tomasi.
You think that's Italian, Tomasi?
I would think so. Yeah. From Connecticut.
Right on.
Yeah.
So 23 laps to go here in stage number 1. Reminder, stage 1 is 70 laps, stage 2, 70 laps, and 110 laps in our 3rd and final stage. As our AMR safety team is on the scene.
Now we're going to get the split.
They're behind you now.
We're going to figure out the split here, right? We're going to come to 22 laps to go to this stage. You're going to see guys, I think the field's going to split right in half, whether you want to go for stage points you're going to come in and get your tires, this is the tough decisions for crew chiefs. Figuring out, okay, they're going to try to figure out where we're at in the pack. What's your truck doing? Do we, try to jump a bunch of spots here at stage break, or are we going to go for stage points? So this is going to get a lot of strategy here, but this is why these crew chiefs get paid the big bucks of figuring out what's the best call to make.
It's going to be interesting because we know one thing for sure. Corey Heim doesn't need any stage points. He's pretty happy with all
Yeah.
that he has. So he could pit.
I think he
Man,
will.
Ryan, it was so hard to call this at Kansas. We thought people would do the opposite of Corey Heim. They just followed him right on down pit road. So we'll see how it goes here. Pits are still closed.
So let's take a look at the pit window sponsored by Window World. See it there between 100 and 130 laps. That, of course, is on a full tank of fuel. But now we have the option here with 22 laps to go, as you gentlemen just set up. I see a lot of pit crews ready to go.
Yeah, and
Who goes?
looking at lap times here through the course of the run, compared to their fast lap, and everyone's a little bit different and traffic kind of flows, but it only fell off maybe at most half a second. So you have to factor that in as well. Okay, how much do the tires fall off? Do they not fall off enough to where we just want to keep track position? But this is here comes decision time as pit road's open.
So it's open. And Ryan, one of the things Ryan said, don't speed. They are out to get you, and it's very easy to do it here. 30 miles per hour down pit road.
In the gap. Wow, Friesen stays out.
The wins that he has, the speed that he has, so he's going to flip this stage.
Shocked.
Jarrow stayed out, as did Stuart Friesen. So we're going to have a new leader.
I'm shocked how many are staying out.
Get that long drive down. Caitlin, he's coming your way for some fresh tires.
Yes, he is. Like you said, Michael electing to pick because they have those wins and points, obviously, in the buffer there. But he said it's a little free, but please don't over tighten it considering where this track may go. So you can see, obviously, the 4 tires there. Former winner at this racetrack, but he's choosing to come down a little earlier, tuning to go on stage, guys.
Great work from that camera. I believe that's our Jiv. Great shot. You could see they didn't make any chassis adjustments, so obviously helped him out with a little air pressure.
Yeah, and I'm counting 6 trucks stayed out here. So Corey is going to restart 7th, so he could still win this stage, to be honest with you. So it'll be curious to see how those scuffed tires work out for the guys who stayed out.
All right, pit stops complete. We'll line them up and drop the green flag once again from North Wilkesboro.
Probably going to have a little bit more than 15 laps to go in stage 1 by the time we get to this next restart. Gio Ruggiero will be the race leader after staying out of the pits from the 2nd place position at the time of the caution. Stuart Friesen from 3rd also stays out. And I'm quite shocked, honestly, at how many drivers. And instead of trying to stick with Corey Heim, assume that they know they don't have anything for him. But even still, even if it's not a race win, a 2nd, a 3rd place run like Gio Ruggiero and Stuart Friesen have going right now, it could be tough for them to try to get that far back through the front of the field. Any lucky dogs yet? Yeah, free pass with that last caution. Looks like went to Connor Mosak in 23rd. Connor Mosak in 23rd would have gotten the free pass, and a few others taking the wave around to get back on the lead lap. Any drivers who would have been behind our race leader, but in front of the 2nd place truck who stayed out of the pits of Gio Ruggiero would be back on the lead lap as well, or depending on how many laps down they were, they would get at least a lap back. Most of the drivers on the field, if they were off the lead lap, they were only 1 down, but there were a few that were multiple laps down. Sid Vick, welcome to the stream. Bradley Thomas, welcome to the stream. Lap 53 of 250 in this race overall. And again, 70 laps in stage 1. Field may be getting the 1-to-go signal this time by... Nope, not yet. Oh, no, they are getting it. Okay. There were a few other trucks on pit road, but not sure exactly who. Pit road penalty for Ben Rhodes. He'll go to the tail end of the field for this restart. Not sure on exactly what the penalty is for, but I see him parked at the tail end of the line. Ty Majeski had the wrong Thor Sport truck there. It looked like the 99. It was actually the 98. Speeding on pit road for Majeski. Tanner Gray also had a speeding penalty along with Jason Alexander, who was already off the lead lap. So Ruggiero will restart in the lead. He'll be outside of row 1 as the initial launch truck for the restart. We're going to have 17 laps to go. Make that 16. 16 to go in the restart. Friesen on the inside of row 1. Row 2 behind them is going to be Chandler Smith on the bottom. Jake Garcia on the top. Corey Heim inside of row 3 on the restart. He's got Tyler Akerman in the 19. Daniel Hemrick, in the 19 to his outside. Green flag in the air. A little bit of looseness on the bottom by Stuart Friesen. Opens up the ability to go 3 wide to the inside for a brief moment for Chandler Smith before now he is 3 wide middle. And Corey Heim on fresher tires will get underneath him. Ruggiero holds on to the lead with the 52 all over his door. We continue to stay green. It's still 3 wide around Corey Heim, Chandler Smith, and Daniel Hemrick in the pack. Corey slides up in front of the nose of the 38 to take that position away. Lane Riggs also on fresher tires, who pitted to be on the same strategy with that of Corey Heim, has boxed in behind the 19 truck on the outside. Heim on the bottom trying to complete the pass, but can't do so that time off turn 4. He's been working on the 19 for a few laps now as he battles in for 4th. And he is clear off turn 2 for that position. Riggs side by side with his teammate Chandler Smith for a bit. That battle is for 6 right behind the 19. 2 by 2 also behind them is Kyle Busch and Grant Enfinger. Top 5 off of the restart as Jero Ruggiero in the lead. Stuart Friesen second. Jake Garcia third. Corey Heim fourth. And Daniel Hemrick rounding out the top 5 in 5th. 12 laps to go in stage 1 this time by. Ruggiero's lead's about 0.3 of a second over Stuart Friesen. Friesen was catching the 17 closely for second before that first and only caution of the race came out. And again, that was for Tyler Tomasi stalling out in the racetrack in the 22 truck. He is still in the race. So whatever happened causing the stall out, they've at least gotten the truck refired again. And he continues to run in this event. Corey Heim battling Jake Garcia for 3rd to the inside. Chandler Smith just passed the 19 of Daniel Hemrick for 5th that last lap as well. Now, Smith had stayed out of the pits under that last caution, so he's going to end up having to pit at the end of stage 1. The fact that Corey Heim was able to hit pit road and be on the inside of row 3, I just don't like the decision for those drivers who stayed out, unless they're going to try to stay out and make it to the end of stage 2 on fuel. But in order to do so, they're probably going to need some extra caution laps. More than what we already had with that first yellow and what we're going to get at the end of stage 1 as well. Fuel window is 120 to 130 laps. Stage 1 and 2 combined would be 140 laps to get to the end of the stage 2 distance from the start of the race. Heim has been on the inside of Garcia for several laps, taking the dirty air behind Garcia. Chandler Smith decides to go to the bottom of the track at the clean air to continue to try to close on Corey Heim, who struggles to get by Garcia. Battle for the lead with 7 laps to go in stage 1 ahead of the battle for 3rd. The battle for 3rd is about 1.5 seconds off of the leaders. Ruggiero holding Stuart Friesen right on his rear bumper. Friesen slid the rear tires on the restart on the inside of Ruggiero headed into that first turn. Did a great job holding on to 2nd place and to keep from wrecking both himself and the 17 who was to his outside. But now going to battle him under the green flag conditions the longer this run goes. Corey Heim got through to 3rd place about 1.5 laps ago, by the way, and he's pulling away from Garcia. Chandler Smith still trying to make the pass on the 13 for 4th. Lane Riggs just behind his teammate Smith as well. 5 laps to go in stage 1. Over the last couple of laps, Ruggiero has extended his lead just a bit, almost 0.5 seconds ahead of Friesen, and equates to about 3 to 4 truck lengths at this just more than a half-mile oval. Corey Heim is still the fastest truck on the track in 3rd, but I think he's running out of laps to try to catch the leader. May have a shot to get to Stuart Friesen, and these leaders should get to the back of lap traffic, at least with the back marker trucks before the end of the stage as well. Could maybe shake things up a bit. Just a couple of trucks. 2 of them. The very tail end of the field. Riggs to the outside of his teammate Chandler Smith. Trying to beat the 13 to the outside in turns 1 and 2. That didn't work out well for him either. Riggs might be able to make this pass for 5th. Chandler's been stuck on the bottom for a while. He just wasn't able to roll it quite as well as Corey Heim was able to. Lane Riggs, much better on the bottom, will actually beat the 38 to the inside. That'll take Chandler Smith's line away. Chandler trying to force himself into a middle line of the racetrack now, while Riggs is looking to make a pass on his teammate for 5th. And now Riggs is going to get picked behind the slow truck on the bottom of Derek White in the 2. 4 wide nearly up off the corner as Riggs tries to squeeze to the inside with not a lot of room to get there. Final lap of the stage. Ruggiero's got the stage win in the bag. Battle for second between Friesen and Heim into 3 and 4. Heim will try to get to the outside of the 52. He's going to have to give enough room to him, and Heim is going to beat him back to the line for second. 1-2 for Tricon Garage in stage 1. Giro Ruggiero will win the opening stage of the race. And I believe that is going to be the first stage win for Ruggiero on the season. Came in 12th in points, so 10 points towards the regular season total is pretty big. He came in trailing Ben Rhodes by 25 points for that final spot. And I don't think Rhodes finished in the top 10 in the stage either. Yeah, outside the top 10, so 10-0, and that deficit is now only 15 entering stage 2 of the race. Still surprised he stayed out of the pits, but maybe that was why, knowing that they were behind in points, looking to get ahead on Ben Rhodes in this opening frame of the race. So Gio Ruggiero again wins stage 1. Corey Heim second, Stuart Friesen third, Jake Garcia fourth, and Chandler Smith in 5th. Lane Riggs 6th, 7th for Tyler Ankrum, Daniel Hemrick 8th, Grant Enfinger 9th, Kyle Busch rounds out our top 10 for stage 1. Our chat poll right now, we are currently up to 36 votes for who you think is going to win today's truck race at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Kyle Busch leads the poll at 44%, although has been dropping back from the start of the race. He was in second, again 10th at the end of the first stage. Corey Heim, 35% of the votes, dominated in the lap slide, but ended up second after the pit strategy with the lone caution in the late going of stage 1. Lane Riggs has 14% of the votes, and Chandler Smith, who won at Bristol earlier this year, only 5% of the votes. I think Riggs and Smith look pretty equal on speed. I would still probably favor Chandler Smith a little bit more, even though we've seen Riggs make him battling with Chandler Smith late. Chandler's struggling to make passes on trucks up there in the front 5. And if Riggs was in his position, I'm curious to see if Riggs can maybe do something a little different to make a pass made. Corey Heim, really the only driver who's been able to make passes on other trucks inside the top 5 so far today. Friesen struggled to get by Ruggiero both times on the restart before the caution. Outside of passing Kyle Busch real early in the race, but Busch was dropping backwards and doesn't seem to have the pace. Spire Motorsports as a whole seeming like they're falling back as Sammy Smith wasn't holding on very well in the top 10 earlier. He's 16th at the end of stage 1 in the 7. And that truck just went to victory lane last weekend at a 1.5 mile track at Kansas with Carson Hocevar, so the equipment is definitely there. Spire Motorsports has won 3 times this season with the 07 and the 7 truck combined 3 wins, all with Cup regulars, and 1 win apiece for those drivers. Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, and last week for Carson Hocevar.
And we welcome you back to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series from North Wilkesboro. Jamie Little, Michael Waltrip, Ryan Blaney with you. Ryan, be in the car later on today. I'll be covering you guys. It'll be fun for the heat race tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited. I got my way from the back. I start last in the first one.
Like I said, it'll be really fun.
Yeah. Hopefully I can make my way up like Lane Riggs has showed us that he can do today, and a couple other guys. So, and you see, those guys who stayed out under the last caution with about 20 to go, they're going to come in, get tires. They're going to restart back in the field, but you hope that their gamble was that Chandler Smith really fast in the pits. Josh.
Well, for Chandler Smith, other than being too fast at the fence right there, he said he was too free on entry. Otherwise, pretty happy with that truck. And for the 17th, Gio Ruggiero, first career stage win and running really well. He's struggling in 1 and 2, and he needs just to be snugged up a little bit, Caitlin.
Yeah, what about the 52 of Stuart Friesen? Fresh off the top 5 at Kansas. He said the balance is pretty good. A little snug doesn't go into the 3rd in that stage. Bottom of your screen, Jake Garcia, 5 top 10s in the last 6 races. You guys talked about that consistency. He said, I need a little bit of rear lateral grip so I can drive the truck a little harder. He was 4th in that stage, guys.
Yeah, and you saw Chandler Smith had to back it up before they could start work on that truck. Work ongoing on pit road. 175 laps to go from North Wilkesboro. Pit road. A busy place. Stay with us. Stage number 2 coming up next.
All right, so Corey Heim back up to the front of the field. Lane Riggs will be second on this upcoming restart. Jake Garcia, Tyler Ankrum be around row 2. Grant Enfinger, Kyle Busch should be in about row 3. Row 4, Caden Honeycutt, Brett Cruz, Ben Rhodes, Raja Caruth, 9th, 10th. Rounding out the top dozen, Luke Baldwin and Connor Jones. And that will be all to start stage 2 here today at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. 10th Craftsman Truck Series race of the season continues. You're listening live on KRC to the Window World 250. We did get to our light goal yesterday during Cup Series practice and qualifying, along with the pit stop competition intertwined with qualifying for the Open and All-Star races yesterday. We're at 28 likes on the stream so far today as we just wrapped up stage 1 moments ago. And again, a quick race update. 1 caution in the opening stage, right around lap 50. We've had 2 lead changes now, 13 laps under the yellows, which include our stage caution currently in the first and only caution for incident in stage 1. Just over a half hour into the race, Corey High back in the lead again after starting on the pole. And Giro won stage 1 on pit strategy, but now he'll be at the back of the pack for the next restart. Heim has led 53 of 77 completed laps so far. Free pass with the last caution goes to Dawson Sutton. He's back on the lead lap, so now 27 trucks will be on the lead lap to begin stage 2. And Lane Riggs, who started 27th, has found his way to 2nd already. He's able to gain a few extra positions because of the pit strategy of being on the same strategy as Heim, pitting at the end of the first stage. He got up to 11th before that first caution came out. And there were, I believe, 5 drivers who stayed out on the track ahead of him, so able to leapfrog those 5. And goes from 6th to 2nd. From the end of stage 1 to the race start to begin stage 2. Live commentary continues later on today. At 5 p.m. Eastern, we'll be live for the NASCAR Cup Series heat races at North Wilkesboro, which will set the starting lineup for the main event drivers who are already locked into tomorrow's All-Star race. There will be 2 separate heats, 50 lap each, beginning again at 5 p.m. Eastern later this afternoon. Doubleheader tomorrow on the channel with the All-Star Open and All-Star main event at 5 p.m. Eastern as well for the All-Star Open, and a separate stream at 8 p.m. Eastern for the main event. Only driver not running for truck points to get stage points in stage 1 would have been Kyle Busch in 10th. He's the only Cup regular in the field today. Sammy Smith, Xfinity Series regular, running this race today. Also for Spire Motorsports. Seen a lot of yellows on short tracks so far this season for the Truck Series, but only 1 in stage 1. We'll see as the aggressiveness ramps up the closer we get to the end of the race. Still early in the going. First half of the event, of course. 60 laps to go at stage 2. Spent 10 laps under the caution for the stage end on this short track. And again, row 1 will be Heim on the outside, Lane Riggs on the bottom. Restart zone right off the exit of turn 4. Green flag back in the air. Riggs spins the tires just a bit. Corey Heim, good launch on the outside. As they roll through the center of turns 1 and 2, Riggs gets up into the 11 and almost slides him up into the wall. 5 wide nearly off the exit of turn 2 for second as Grant Enfinger snuck by and got to the lead. Riggs is quickly to the outside, but he did the same thing Friesen did, if not worse, which was slide up the track, taking him and the truck to his outside up the racetrack. But unlike Ruggiero, able to hold on for the lead on the restart in the end of stage 1. Unfortunately for Heim and Riggs, they both lost the lead. They were not first and second anymore. And Riggs continues to fall as he overdrives 3 and 4 just a bit. Got up into the marbles, so I'm sure he's probably got some loose rubber on his tires, and his tires could be a bit dirty until we get a couple more laps under us. Heim fell to 3rd. He's looking to make a pass for second on Cruz in the 1. Brett Cruz on the outside has a bit of a tire rub. He had contact in there somewhere in the midst of those trucks being nearly 5 wide off turn 2. His left rear is the tire that's rubbing on the fender around the sidewall of the tire. That was after contact from Carruth underneath him. He got sandwiched between Carruth and Ankrum in the middle of 5 wide. So hopefully that left rear tire holds on because he's having a good race. Quietly in the top 10 all through stage 1. Qualified. Well, it didn't qualify because I guess qualifying got rained out, but he was good in practice earlier and getting first start of the season for Cruz. Same equipment that his teammate Corey Heim is underneath him with and has led a bunch of laps in the race. He continues to battle for second for, even with the damage to the left rear. Aerodynamically, not going to make much of a difference here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Just got to hope that that tire holds on. It's still slightly smoky, not as much since the air pressure is built just a bit from where we were in the opening lap or two of the restart, but the damage is definitely not going away. Definitely going to make for a lengthier pit stop because the crew's going to have to get that buffed out before they put the new tire back on it. So at some point, he's going to have to give at least a little bit of time up. For the meantime, he tries to hold on to whatever track position he can in second place. Bit loose on the outside lane through turns 1 and 2. Corey Heim gets a better turn through the center of the corner, gets back underneath him again. Heim battled side by side to the inside of Cruz for several laps before having to duck in line behind him on the outside enter. He won that last lap just for another opportunity to open up to try to make the pass again. Riggs got back by Kyle Busch for 6th a couple laps ago. Riggs got the worst end of it in the sake of how many positions he lost. Went from 2nd to 7th, where Heim went from the lead back to 3rd. Riggs overdrove the truck late trying to battle for the win with Carson Hocevar a week ago at Kansas in what looked very similar to how that last restart went about. Slid got into the left rear of the truck to his outside, both of them against the wall, but because it was a restart, there were so many trucks that were able to get to the inside and get by both of those drivers. We're on the final lap. They were far enough ahead of the rest of the field and were able to keep speed up at Kansas last week. They still finished 1-2 across the finish line. Unfortunately for Lane Riggs, he ended up failing post-race inspection. With that being the case, he fell to a last place finish, and that also hurt him in points as he came into the day now 9th in the standings, lost 1 spot, and lost quite a few points on that as well. Speaking of which, we'll take a look at the point standings for the first time in this race today. Corey Heim comes in with a 64-point lead over Chandler Smith for the regular season championship. Corey Heim finishing 2nd in the stage to Chandler Smith's 5th. Will put an extra 3 points on him after stage 1. 21 playoff points already for Corey Heim as he has scored so many playoff points this season. 3 race wins, 6 stage wins to go along for those 21 points. He would get an additional 15 if he wins the regular season championship, which again, 64 points. That's over 1 full race worth of points ahead. Max amount of points he can score in a single race is 61. Daniel Hemrick is 3rd in points, minus 85, and minus 100 for Tyler Ackerman, 4th. Top 4 in the driver standings are the only 4 truck regulars with a win that have locked themselves into the playoffs this year. So in the playoff standings, you got 5th place Grant Enfinger, 6th for Ty Majeski, 7th Jake Garcia, Caden Honeycutt 8th, Lane Riggs 9th, Ben Rhodes 10th, and only 10 drivers make the Truck Series playoff field. The gap between Ben Rhodes and 10th and the driver just behind him, Stuart Friesen, coming into the race today was 9 points, which is probably why Friesen stayed out to get stage points in that first stage. He was top 5, Rhodes didn't get any, and where he's running right now, Ben Rhodes is flirting with the top 10, currently in 10th, battling for 9th with Chandler Smith. We're back in traffic a little bit further is where you'd find Friesen at 15th after losing the track position, hitting pit road. Chandler Smith was on that same strategy as Friesen though, and is definitely moving through the field quicker than anybody else, just as he was for the initial start of the race. Really only has slightly fresher tires, and we haven't seen that make much of a difference early on. Lap times are still roughly the same, and I imagine that that would probably be the case going forward as this race progresses still. Side-by-side commercial break on Fox Sports 1 with their on-air coverage of the Window World 250. With that being said, we have 43 laps to go in Stage 2, and we're just a couple laps shy of lap 100 in total in the race today. Grant Enfinger has led every green flag lap of Stage 2 after the contact on the restart with Lane Riggs and Corey Heim. His lead is 1.4 seconds over Brent Cruz, who still remains in second, with Corey Heim still challenging to pass in third place behind him. Fourth is where Tyler Ankrum sits, and Raja Kruth rounds out the top five in fifth. Sixth is where Lane Riggs slides, Kyle Busch in seventh. Eighth for Ben Rhodes, Sammy Smith ninth, and Chandler Smith rounds out the top 10. 11th is Luke Baldwin, Caden Honeycutt 12th, Connor Jones 13th. Check that. Stuart Friesen now 13th, making a pass for position. Connor Jones drops to 14th. Then you got Jake Garcia in 15th, 16th for Gio Ruggiero, Matt Craft in 17th, Tanner Gray 18th, Ty Majeski 19th, and Daniel Hemrick in 20th. 21st for Connor Mosack, Tony Breitinger 22nd, Jack Wood 23rd, 24th Patrick Emmerling, and Matt Mills 25th. 26th Spencer Boyd. He's the last truck in the lead lap currently. Andres Perez is in 27th, Dawson Sutton 28th, Frankie Muniz 29th, and Ryan Roulette 30th. 31st for Jason Alexander, Tyler Tomasi 32nd, Derek White 33rd, and Norm Benning rounds out our 34 truck field. Benning, the only truck off the racetrack, and as of right now, seems to be out of the race. Derek White, who stalled out, or sorry, not Derek White, but he did come to pit road unscheduled, is 14 laps down. Tyler Tomasi, who stalled out, bringing out the last caution, is 12 laps down. Still the only caution for incident, just over 100 laps in, and just over 43 minutes of total time from the drop of the green at the start of the race, lap 1 to lap 104.
Welcome back to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, live from North Wilkesboro. This battle rages on between Corey Heim.
Sens fan, welcome to the stream, by the way.
Does he get it? Yes, Corey Heim moves into second. Brent Enfinger continues to lead out front.
Corey's been working over Brent for a long time, and you know, every time he'd get a look, oh, that's tight right there. More damage on the one left rear. As we watched this battle, Corey was really trying to, angle off turn 4. He could angle down off turn 2 and get alongside, get to the quarter panel of the one truck. But then as he tried to do it in 3 and 4, there's that big bump we were talking about on the bottom. And that thing is really tough when you try to angle down and put the power down. And we're going to slow this down. We're going to show a great shot here. See the 11 truck on the bottom, angling down the racetrack. Boom. You see the truck bounce right there? It makes him check up, right? And the one could just carry. Angle off turn 4. He could angle down off turn 2 and get alongside, get to the quarter panel of the one truck. But then as he tried to do it in 3 and 4, there's that big bump we were talking about on the bottom. And that thing is really tough when you try to angle down and put the power down. And we're going to slow this down. We're going to show a great shot here. See the 11 truck on the bottom, angling down the racetrack. Boom. You see the truck bounce right there? It makes him check up, right? And the one could just carry so much more momentum. So that's what makes it tough to pass off of turn 4 on the bottom. You really have to be kind of above that bump, or your car has to be just kind of ride quality a lot better over that to make that possible.
Lane Riggs continues to try to march forward after that restart where he lost all that ground. He's able to get to the inside of April. Can't quite complete the pass. It's a kind of faster truck right now, but Tyler's just hanging on tough up top. Now
Lane had restarted second, slipped back to sixth after the contact.
this is what it looks like to be the leader, Ryan. That's pretty nice, isn't it?
Hey, that's always news right here.
Josh?
Well, Brent Enfinger is one of just 2 drivers in the field to finish top 10 in both races here at North Wilkesboro. But despite their past success here, they still tweaked on their setup. The team telling me, we know everybody else in the field is going to get better, so we got to make sure we're progressing with our short track package as available. Right now, Brent is running out front, but saying he's still struggling with grip in that truck. He can't get to the wheel the way he wants it to. A little bit easier when you are in the lead. When you come up on those lap trucks, that might be a factor for the 9 right now.
Jeff Stankiewicz is crew chief on the box. What a great working relationship these two have.
Chandler's been impressive, hasn't he?
He's made up a lot of ground, and he's one of these, trucks that we all thought were really fast early. And it seems like they got it just a little better. I mean, he just went up there past the 34, and he has new tires, right? He was that group that hit it there at the stage caution. And it seems like they've really made some great adjustments to that truck. And, he's been able to drive up to guys and pass them, within 3-4 laps. So That thing is really strong right now.
He's the only driver in the top 10 that fitted and got those tires. Stuart Friesen has gotten stuck back in the 11th position. So this is a really fast 38 truck as he continues to try to march forward.
What a great race here for third. And Michael, you set it up perfectly. Just in practice, talking about how these truckers could run all over the place, and that set the stage for an action-packed race like this, passing throughout.
Yeah, really good move by Chandler Smith to get to the goal. So he was kind of pinned on the bottom, trying to find clean air under the 18. I mean, that just worked out perfectly for the 38 truck, and now he's going to set his sights right in the white line to try to get on Tyler Ankle.
Man, he's got a fast truck right now. It's cool to see. Great battling, as you mentioned, Jamie.
Chandler Smith, such a good short track driver. Multiple wins in the Truck Series, won at Bristol earlier this year, but he's never been here to North Wilkesboro. So not looking like an old rookie in this track. 25 laps to go in stage number 2. Grant Enfinger continues to lead over Corey Heim from North Wilkesboro.
All right, so as Enfinger continues to lead, his gap is 1.8 seconds over Corey Heim. That last lap was about a tenth quicker than our second place driver, who was dominated in the laps led coming into stage 2, and Grant Enfinger is fastly approaching him for the most laps led. Chandler Smith is up to third place just behind the leaders, and Tyler Ankrum is fourth, Lane Riggs fifth, Brent Cruz in sixth. Seventh place is Kyle Busch, Raja Caruth eighth, Ben Rhodes in ninth, Sammy Smith rounds out the top 10. Stuart Friesen in 11th, Luke Baldwin 12th, Caden Honeycutt 13th, Jake Garcia 14th, and Gio Ruggiero 15th. Daniel Hemrick 16th, Connor Jones 17th, 18th for Matt Kraft, and 19th, Ty Majeski, and Tanner Gray in 20th. 21st, Connor Mosack, 22nd, Tony Breidinger, Jack Wood 23rd, Patrick Emmerling 24th, and Matt Mills 25th. 26th, Spencer Boyd, first truck one lap down. Andres Perez, 27th, Dawson Sutton, 28th, Frankie Muniz, 29th, and Ryan Roulette, 30th. Jason Alexander, 31st, Tyler Tomasi, 32nd, Derek White, 33rd, and Norm Benning, 34th, rounds out the field. By far, the most spots gained in the restart, Chandler Smith, who is up 16 positions. Daniel Hemrick's up 10 to 16th. And then up 6 spots for Stuart Friesen to 11th. Then Enfinger up 3 spots that initial lap. Initial corner, really, after the restart. And we're at where we're at here, late in stage 2. Just less than 20 laps to go in the stage. 56 laps led for Corey Heim to 43 for Grant Enfinger. So Enfinger will catch him, assuming he leads every lap to the end of the stage. Heim has trimmed the gap just a bit. 1.5 seconds now, the difference between P1 and P2. We'll take a break. Live to the Window World 250 at North Wilkesboro on KRC. Bam Hall, welcome into the stream as well. Once more, our light goal for today's stream is 50. And we are currently at 44, so we're getting very close. Chat poll will close at the end of stage 2 in about 14 laps time, so be sure to vote for who you think is going to win today's race if you haven't done so yet. Grant Enfinger has just one stage win on the year, so looking for number 2 if he can hold off Corey Heim.
So the Twins battle the Brewers. Check your local listings for the game in your area. That's tonight, 7 Eastern, only on Fox. We welcome you back as Grant Enfinger has about a 1.5-second lead over Corey Heim. And Chandler Smith at the 38 is on rails, Ryan. I know you've been watching him.
Yeah, he's making a lot of ground up. He just got the third during the break. And the leaders are now starting to catch the back of the field, right? So it's going to be hard on the 9, it's going to be hard on the 11 and the 38. So now we're going to get a really good idea of, all right, how versatile is your truck? Can you run the middle? Can you run the bottom? Where can you get by these lappers and still try to keep your lap time up? So this is a big test here, and we're only 14 to go here until the stage. So these are really important laps.
Yeah, they're starting to get some solid trucks now, guys that are running inside the top 20. So that's going to make it even more and more difficult to move forward. Daniel Hemrick earlier had a problem on pit road, got a penalty, and he's marched his way through the field. Caught Gio Ruggiero, been stuck right there for a while. This is a battle for 15th. But looks like the slip there by the 22 up the hill Daniel can't quite get down there. Tyler Tomasi is that 22 truck. He's had some issues today. Still on the road.
It's Daniel Hemrick up 10 spots since that speeding penalty.
It's good to have a fast truck, but man, when you get stuck back in traffic, we talk about every week, Jamie, how competitive this field is. I mean, you look at the top 20 and you think any of those drivers could win the race, and that's when it gets difficult to make your way through the field. That's why Chandler Smith and both Lane Riggs have been so impressive today, doing just that.
And here's someone we haven't talked about all today, Kyle Busch, always a threat, whenever he comes to any series. And you'll be watching him. He wasn't great the first stage, wasn't very good in practice yesterday, just passed Brent Cruz for 6th. And I love the lane he's running. Look how high he's entering turn 1.
You know why you love it, because you want to do that tonight, tomorrow.
I'm learning a lot right here. So he's starting to push the lane up in 3 and 4 and the entrance to 1. And he's found a lot of speed. So I'm curious to see. Kyle Busch is one of the best at getting his cars better and better through the race. I'm curious to see where they can get this 07 truck. Caitlin.
Ryan, you talked about it. He's always so successful in any series. 67 wins he's had in the truck series. Well, we did see some of his issues start in practice, like you mentioned, Michael, scanning that team. They had to take some big swings at it and see if it kind of translate over to the race as well. He kept complaining about a loose condition that just seemed to worsen over time, but he's just been kind of hanging right in that 6th, 7th place spot so far in this race, guys.
You know what, Caitlin, the last time by, he was the fastest truck on the track, though, so he's working that groove that Ryan was so much admiring, and he's picking up speed, too, as the race goes on. How different are the race conditions? Will they change throughout the day? Ryan, I know it's going to be hotter and slicker, but that rubber going down will make things different, too, won't it?
It changed a lot, and you're always having to figure out, all right, where can I start to make lap time? Where can I run my car or truck that's better? And that's the beauty of these racetracks. And the cool thing about this place is you can see where the lane, like the top of the groove is at, right? It's super dark, and then it gets to the light gray, right? And that is the edge of grip. But you can kind of start pushing that lane up. It takes a while, but you can push it up, and you see, Grant Edfinger's starting to slip a little bit. Corey Himes really starting to put the pressure, and they've got a ton of lap traffic in between. So 5 to go in the stage. This is going to be a great battle to the end.
Big slide for Grant Edfinger there on turn 4. That thing was way sideways. That heating up the rear tires isn't going to help that any at all.
Corey Heim taking a look. Grant Edfinger's led more laps today than all of 2025 combined. He's led 56 laps. But Corey Heim is there. Heim has led 56 laps as well today.
I'm telling you, Chandler Smith's going to become part of this battle here, too. You see him right there, right behind Corey Heim. So these guys are stoked up behind lap traffic. These guys don't want to go another lap down. These guys are racing hard for the stage win. So this is going to be a great final 3 laps.
The speed differential in the front runners versus the lap truck.
Oh, we got truck.
Is that the 44?
Yeah.
Taylor Jones, it is stopped on track inside turn number 2.
Spin into the outside wall. I saw him. He and Matt Craftsman were battling hard for the 16th position.
Looks like a right front tire if I had to guess anything on Connor's truck.
So that'll end stage number 2. That brings out the caution for the 3rd time today.
There's Crafton. I saw him all over the back of the 44 just a couple of laps before.
Yeah, you see it blue right there.
Yeah, just
Right front blows. And fortunately, honestly, blowing tires is not fun, but he was only 2 feet off the wall when it did. So they might be able to repair that truck and get it back out there.
Matt did a nice job of getting to the bottom of that 44 truck when he had his problem.
Let's listen to Corey Himes' radio. Tongue in cheek there.
Yeah, a little bit, but yeah, Corey said he's tighter in the middle, snappy loose off, right? And that's just traffic. You're in dirtier air as what he's described it as a first run. And so, your truck doesn't turn as good. You're going to be worse on the exit. As you see, Grant Edfinger is going to win the stage. Corey Himes second in both stages today. So really good stage points for him. We have a great setup for the last stage of this race. There's going to be some really fast trucks coming forward. And from Corey Hines' audio, I think there's going to be a little bit of, aggression behind the wheels. So I'm looking forward to blasting.
Must watch. And Grant Enfinger picks up his second stage win this season. We'll be back for pit stops after this.
Stage 2 ends under caution with the late yellow, with the 44 having a right front tire failure, and Connor Jones making an impact, stalling out against the wall in turn 2. Enfinger wins the stage under caution. Second stage win of the year for Enfinger. Corey Heim was second. Chandler Smith third. Tyler Raker fourth. And Lane Riggs rounds out the top 5 and 5th. Sixth place for Kyle Busch. Roger Cruz 7th. Brent Cruz 8th. Ben Rhodes 9th. And Sammy Smith in 10th. Stuart Friesen 11th. Luke Baldwin 12th. Caden Honeycutt 13th. Jake Garcia 14th. Gio Ruggiero in 15th. Daniel Hemrick 16th. Matt Crafton 17th. Tom Majeski 18th. Connor Mosak in 19th. 20th for Tanner Gray. And that was pretty much the entire top half of the field. At the end of stage 2. Free pass goes to Patrick Emmerling in 23rd. Driving the 75 truck. First truck start of the season for Patrick. Seen Parker Kligerman in that truck a couple of times this season. 75 team not running full-time this year, just a part-time basis. That was the only caution for incident in stage number 2, and again, it ends the stage under yellow. It's their third caution entirely in the race. It will be seen pit stops for the second time for these teams, and probably the last, unless you're in the back half of the field, if a caution comes out later in stage 3 for incident. But we have not seen hardly any tire fall off today. I don't expect anybody in the top 5 to top 10 potentially to hit pit road at all the rest of this race. They'll be good on field to the end of the stage from here also. Field window 120 to 130 laps. Stage 3 only 110. By the time we go green, we're probably going to have somewhere around 100 laps to go. Or at least within the ballpark of that. Ashton Sminkle, welcome to the stream. I'm doing great. Hopefully you're doing well as well. Major Kenneth Withrow, welcome back. No, I shouted you out in the chat, but I'll shout you out verbally as well. Frank Powers and Irina Sayre, thanks for tuning in. Like goal is 50 again for today's live commentary stream. We are 4 likes away from our goals. Trying to go 2 for 2 to get to 50 on the like goal to start the weekend on our first 2 streams. We'll end the chat poll as we're at the end of stage 2. 53 votes were casted for who you think is going to be most likely to win today's race. 49% taking Kyle Busch for the win. 33% took Corey Heim. 13% had Lane Riggs and Chandler Smith, who's been on the move today. Only 3% of the votes. Pit road is open.
They got the drive off better in that truck, but he's still saying he's a little bit too tight, so they're going to free him up to help out this next run for Grant Enfinger with that truck. The balance is pretty much the same all race long, lacking that grip that he needs. A track bar adjustment for that 9 front, Jalen.
Well, Josh, Corey Heim said, guys, make sure you check for any damage on that left rear because it doesn't drop the things. And also, I can't get the right rear under me as well with the feedback he gave. But Tyler Abram, he said it's starting to build a little free on exit, but tight in the center. It's too cheap, Ash. Should I free you up? Racetrack? Tyler's response. But yeah, guys.
Corey Heim, Grant Enfinger, stickers ranked 1 and 2 as they come up. 1 and 2. That was so close.
That's close. I thought the 9 had a little bit of trouble on the right rear, but they did a good job recovering. This was about as close as a guess.
How tempting is it to squeeze that gas down just a little bit more than you should?
Victor's got the job done. Grant Enfinger hangs on to it after stage win.
All right, so Enfinger goes on to win stage 2, holds on to the lead with a pretty good 4-tire stop by his pit crew. Comes out a nose ahead of Corey Heim. And those two will be on the front row for the next restart. Kyle Busch back up in the top 5, it appears. Chandler Smith, Lane Riggs up there. Big names in the truck series, all going for the win here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Should be a fun stage 3 of action. right here on KRC. Time for our diecast showing as we're at the end of stage 2 in today's race. And I know I've showed this diecast off within the recent races on the channel. I shouldn't say recent weeks because went like 2 weeks without showing any diecast. But this weekend, figured I'd show off some former All-Star race winners. And so here is a Mark Martin diecast. This is from the year 2000, part of the NASCAR 2000 diecast series. And this is his Valvoline Ford Taurus from that year. I think the 6 font is probably my favorite of the Roush fonts. Greg Biffle had something similar to this the first couple years he was in the Cup Series with that number 6 font. I think Ted Musgrave did too at one point when he drove the 16. But I like it. I like it. Actually, I ran a throwback scheme to this on NASCAR Heat 5 in the very early days of the channel, because I had this diecast, and I'm not great with the artwork, but on those NASCAR video games and creating my own paint schemes, I was like, hey, I think I could do this one. And so that's a throwback in and of itself. Yeah, between this and the mid-90s Valvoline schemes, definitely my favorite of them. They've had some pretty good Valvoline schemes, even on William Byron's car the last couple of years. He'll be running the Valvoline colors in the All-Star race tomorrow as well, and his heat race later on tonight. Once again, 5 p.m. Eastern, we'll be going live for the NASCAR heat races, which will be taking place tonight. And then we'll have a double header again on the channel tomorrow, just like we did today with this truck race and the heat races going on later. We'll have the All-Star Open and the All-Star Main Event at 5 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Eastern times again. There'll be 2 separate streams for the All-Star race. No pre-race show like we usually do for the Cup Series races on the channel because there's no fantasy this weekend, with it being a non-points paying race. Actually did our Sporkle NASCAR Trivia Quiz of the Week last night in the middle of practice and qualifying while we were in the cool-down period between practice and qualifying. Figured I'd throw that out. Mistake on the pit crew for the 98 at Ty Majeski. Speeding on pit road earlier. Rear tire changer falling over as he slips around in the rear of the car. Saw some slips in the pit boxes last night in the pit crew competition. Slippery pit road in North Wilkesboro. So we're going to have exactly 101 laps to go in the restart. Enfinger Alexi outside of row 1. Inside will be Corey Heim. And then in row 2 is where Chandler Smith and Lane Riggs will line up. It's like Kyle Busch is going to be near the top 5 based off of where he was leaving pit road. That is not the case. He must have had a penalty of some sort because now he's no longer in the top 20. So yeah, something happened to Kyle Busch on pit road, unfortunately there. It's going to drop him well out of the top 10. Shout out to Connor Mosack up there in the 10th place position. Quiet but solid performance for the driver of the 81. At least to this point. Wild restart to begin stage 2 earlier. We'll see what stage 3 is about to bring. Green flag is back in the air. On the restart, it's going to be Corey Heim who's going to get to the lead. Bit of a squeeze play to get by Grant Enfinger. Chandler Smith is able to solidly get by off of turn 4 as well. A little contact from the 11 and the 38. Lane Riggs going for 3rd underneath Enfinger as now Grant's back in traffic after winning stage 2. 3 wide pass for position for Stuart Friesen, sliding up into 6, making passes on Carruth and Sammy Smith. And now a side-by-side battle for the lead. Chandler Smith and Corey Heim. Off turn 2, Smith got to the inside. Through 3 and 4, continues on the bottom near the white line of the racetrack. Heim up high. Smith trying to win 2 short track races this season. Heim looking for his 4th win of the truck season, and Lane Riggs closely following behind in 3rd and closing as the battle continues to stay side by side for the lead. And the longer they stay door to door, the closer that 34 will drive to the front. Anchor barely holding on for 4th as he makes a pass over Grant Enfinger. Friesen trying to follow him in that hole on the inside is also underneath the 9. Corey Heim way up the racetrack through 1 and 2, really widening his line out. trying to get whatever sort of a run he can from the high side and the progressive banking on both ends of the racetrack. High line is definitely wider in turns 1 and 2 than what it is in 3 and 4. The bottom in 3 and 4 a little bit better there. Symmetrical racetrack by way of the race length, the equal length down the straightaways and the corners of the racetrack, but because you're going uphill into turn 3, downhill into turn 1 creates different racing lines based off of variances in speed at the end of both straightaways on both ends of the racetrack. Matthew Dorter-Bruto, welcome into the stream as well. 94 laps to go here in North Wilkesboro.
30 laps into his runs. He kind of figured, all right, I can't pass him right now doing what I'm doing. I'm going to pull my stuff off just for a second, and now I'm going to try to set him up again.
Let's go back and take a look at the restart.
What a wild restart it was, guys, and trying to win a championship.
Oh, yeah, you see the 38 just touched the left rear of the mountain. And the other one slid up and just got clipped by the 38 in the right rear. So that was an exciting set of corners right there.
See what Lane Riggs saw here from that onboard camera.
Yeah, you see the 11 hit that bump and it just shot him up the racetrack. I don't think he wanted to get to the wall or in front of the 38, but it made him do it.
Ben Rhodes hasn't had the day we were looking for. He had a really fast truck at practice, and you can see there. Just squeezed into the outside wall. There's action all over this racetrack. Here's Daniel Hemrick into the side of Brent Cruz. And he, in turn, almost clipped Sammy Smith in the 7.
Brent Cruz has got a lot of tire marks on the left side of the truck behind the numbers.
Hey,
nothing that he's doing.
He's picked up a lot of experience today, hasn't he?
He has.
Brent Cruz back in 8th right now, doing a great job.
Great job. That's what I was going to say, Jamie. I'm really impressed with this young lady. As we knew we would be. All the kids talk about these days with the talent that Brent has.
You see, just in front of Brent Cruz is Grant Enfinger, right? Restarted first. Had a little bit of that contact. Got roughed around a little bit more. Back to 7th. So hopefully they can get that truck right. And you saw the speed, and we'll see if he, they're already 4.5 seconds back. We'll see if he can start making up some ground as this run goes on.
The battle rages on for the lead.
So good.
He cooled his stuff off for a few laps, and he's back at it.
But look at that. It squeezes up high, and he just has to back out of the gas.
Chandler Smith's story is interesting. You know, Ryan, he raced for Kyle Busch Motorsports. No problem winning. The guy was always fast. Then he moves over to the Xfinity Series, finds victory lane a few times there. Then doesn't have a ride the end of last year. Decides he's coming back. Great opportunity with Front Row for a second truck. Deal came together last minute, and they've already won this year.
Let me ask you this as the champion of NASCAR in 2023. If you're Chandler Smith, do you ride 4 or 5 truck lengths off that 11 truck for a while? You can tell he's faster than him, or do you continue to keep the pressure on him?
Yeah, it just depends on how you're feeling in your truck. You know, if you think if you can run 90% right here behind him, keep the pressure on him. You know, if you're running 110% right here, maybe you back up a little bit. But as this run goes on, we saw both these trucks were probably the fastest over the long haul. So we'll see what kind of tires they have when we come back from break.
This battle for the lead
All right, 85 laps to go. Corey Heim continues to lead with Chandler Smith in second, 1.2 seconds back to Lane Riggs in third. Stuart Friesen is in fourth. Gio Ruggiero rounds out the top 5 in fifth. Tyler Akram is in the 6th place position. Grant Enfinger 7th. Brent Cruz 8th. 9th for Jake Garcia. Luke Baldwin rounds out the top 10. 11th is Ben Rhodes. 12th for Sammy Smith. Daniel Hemrick 13th. Caden Honeycutt 14th. And Roger Caruth in 15th. 16th, Tanner Gray, Jack Wood 17th, Ty Majeski 18th, Connor Mosack 19th, and 20th is Matt Crafton. 21st for Kyle Busch, Tony Breidinger 22nd, Patrick Emmerling 23rd, and he is the last truck on the lead lap after getting the free pass at the end of stage 2. Andres Perez is 24th, Matt Mills 25th, Dawson Sutton 26th, Spencer Boyd 27th, and Connor Jones at 28th. 29th for Frankie Muniz and Jason Alexander 30th. Ryan Roulette 31st, Tyler Tomasi 32nd, Derek White 33rd, and 34th Norm Benning rounding out the field. Only Derek White and Norm Benning are off the racetrack and out of the race. The other 32 out of 34 trucks that started continue on again, 23 on the lead lap. 80 laps to go in the race, 170 laps complete out of 250. We are in stage 3. Our stage winners today were Gio Ruggiero in stage 1 and Grant Enfinger in stage 2. Most laps led in the race so far today has been Corey Heim, as he has led for, skip the statistical category, trying to find again, 77 laps led for Corey Heim today. Grant Enfinger's led the second most laps with 68. Chandler Smith hasn't led yet, but he has been all over the back of Corey Heim so far. 6 lead changes, again the 3 cautions, 2 for incident, 1 in stage 1, 1 in stage 2, which ended stage 2 under yellow. Then the stage lap caution at lap 70 for stage 1. 27 caution laps with those 3 yellows so far. No cautions in stage 3. And into this green flag run right now, we are about 21 laps in. We'll take a quick break. Again, you're listening live on KRC to the Craftsman Truck Series at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Matt Crafton looks a little slow on the racetrack, like he might have gotten up out of the groove several laps ago. Lane Riggs slipping back a little bit from these top 2 positions as Smith and Heim continue to battle for the lead again as they approach lap traffic.
Up front, Corey Heim continues to lead over Chandler Smith, staying so close for laps of counting here from a lot of lap trucks doing a great job working their way around. Meanwhile, the 88 of Matt Crafton had an incident here in the 91.
Oh, that's just a misjudgment there. I think Jack tried to swing her into the corner, and there was a truck there. You can see Kyle Busch is right in the middle of this battle. As you see, then Matt slides up into the wall.
Yeah, Matt just got a little bit too high on entry into turn 1, got it that grade.
That 5 truck right behind Matt there, that's Tony Breidinger. She's doing a nice job battling with some really good trucks. She's currently in the 21st position. You see Jack Wood right there ahead of her. Caitlin, she's doing a nice job here.
Yeah, she is. And, I had a chance to talk with her about the learning curve coming over full time to truck. She said, it's been a lot harder than I expected. She said, not that I thought it would be easy by any means, but she said, it's just been a lot to learn with so many new racetracks all at once, but she is trying to trust the process and not allow the information to overload her. But as you guys know, outside of racing, she does all kinds of other marketing and business endeavors. You see it here. She was featured at the Sports Illustrated Swimsuit edition. She said she was just in New York City for the launch of that magazine edition. She said, it's a lot to keep up with, certainly, but she wants to continue to expand the business side that, of course, is so important here in the sport. And
Right now, Caitlin, she's just a couple of truck lanes off the top 20, going into the top 20 right behind Jack Wood there off turn 4.
Michael, she's had a couple top 20s in the last 3 races, so
I
she's
just
getting the hang of it.
from the booth, I'm just seeing more pace than we saw early in the season. It's good to see someone get a chance to get their legs up and down, keep getting better at the sport.
Talked about Gio Ruggiero quite a lot. Ran up front, led 24 laps today, slipped back after the last round of stops. But guys, he's back in the top 5.
Yeah, really good recovery by Gio. He slipped to 15th there that last stage, and he's done a good job to get back in the top 5.
Luke Baldwin's done a nice job. We saw him up front and then slip back, and now he's back into the top 10. So this is just another awesome performance by this young race, Brian.
Yeah, really good job by Luke. He made his way through the field early in the race, having to start near the back. Fell off a little bit during the last part of the first stage, and now he's made his way back to the top 10. Really clean looking truck right there. He's done a good job, but just kind of pacing himself, trying to figure out how to work his way back to the field. Is Josh, what do you got on his team? I'm guessing.
Well, at the top of the race, I talked about Ty Majeski needing a bounce back day. Actually, it's not happening. You guys documented if you had issues on pit roads and cold slips. As far as the balance of that truck, it's been all over the place. During practice, he couldn't get it dialed in the way he wants it. In the race, came over the radio and said, I just can't race with these guys. You saw the back end just trying to slip out on him right there. And to make matters worse, Ty Majeski his crew chief this year is battling a cold as well. So just a rough day right now with his 98 team, who's had one top 10 for the last 6 races.
But I tell you what, you just look at these trucks he's racing against. I mean, these are race-winning trucks that he's trying to do battle with. So it's like in the Cup Series, you just find yourself a tick off. You're running 20 of them. The Truck Series is getting to be just like that.
Yeah, the Truck Series has a great variety of teams and drivers that go out there and win, and the competition level is just so high. Competition level is high in any of the series, and it's tough to read through it. It just shows you're off by a little bit. It's going to show a lot on the racetrack.
It's not that short track ace performance that I guess we come to expect when it's time adjusting.
This is not your typical short track. They're running all from the bottom to the wall. This is fun to watch.
Right. Speaking of somebody who's, you saw Kyle Busch there for a brief moment, but the lead is still staying fairly tight. Chandler Smith only half a second back, just over half a second back at the 11, trying to keep momentum.
93 laps today at North Wilkesboro. Can he make it 2 for 2?
All right, Corey Heim, 0.8 of a second lead. Chandler Smith might have used his stuff up a bit, trying to keep up with Corey. As the longer this green flag run goes, he's continuously pulling ahead. So again, lead is 0.8 of a second between Heim in first, Chandler Smith in second. Lane Riggs is 2.4 seconds off the lead in third, then Stuart Friesen in fourth is 4 seconds back. Gio Ruggiero 5.5 seconds off the lead in fifth. Tyler Ankrum sixth is 7.8 seconds off the lead. 8.3 seconds back for Grant Enfinger in seventh. Brent Cruz is 8.7 seconds back in eighth. Jake Garcia 9.1 seconds off the lead in ninth. And Luke Baldwin 10.7 seconds off the lead rounds out the top 10. 60 laps to go this time by for our race leader, who has led every green flag lap of stage 3 so far. Led most of the green flag laps in stage 1. We do continue to stay green. He's led for 96 out of 191 completed laps. But again, with still less than 60 laps to go, there's still time left in this one for Chandler Smith to try to just keep up with Corey Heim, navigate through the lap traffic a little bit better, and maybe save his tires and save his equipment up for the home stretch if we get further along into the green flag run without any more cautions. Trying to get the chat back up on my phone. Give me one quick second. I lost you guys. There we go. I've got you back again. We did hit our like goal today of 50 on the stream. We are currently at 54, so be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. And we'll take our final break of the race. Again, you're listening live. KRC, NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race, North Wilkesboro Speedway. Second and a half advantage built up during the full screen commercial break on Fox Sports 1 between first and second place. Heim had as much of a 4-second lead back at stage 1 when he was leading Gio Ruggiero and Stuart Friesen, who were second and third place behind him at the time. Ruggiero still in the top 5 and 5th. And has had a pretty solid points day, getting a stage win and still up there. Enfinger, who won a stage, is 7th. Ben Rhodes, Caden Honeycutt just passed Luke Baldwin moments ago. Ben Rhodes is now back in the top 10 after getting against the wall a couple laps into the restart. Lost some spots, so working his way back forward just a bit. And Rhodes is actually the highest running ThorSport truck right now in that 10th spot. So not a good day for ThorSport Racing. Actually, sorry, Jake Garcia 9th is the highest running ThorSport truck. Struggle this year. They haven't gotten a win yet, though they went this far into the season last year without a win until Ben Rhodes won at Charlotte, so could end up happening again. Charlotte, of course, next weekend. So we'll have to see. Chandler Smith is falling. And Lane Riggs really isn't running him down either. Lane's 3 seconds back. The last lap, Chandler Smith was a little bit quicker than Corey Heim, but not by much. It's basically just how they catch lap traffic, and really they're trading lap times back and forth. But for the most part, Heim has been better at getting through traffic, which is why he has continued to lead. A couple laps ago, Kyle Busch got up against the outside wall. 3 wide. A little contact with Caruth and Ty Majeski opened up an ability for Busch to make a couple of passes. Kyle's currently in 15th, had a penalty and lost all of his track position from just outside the top 5 at the end of stage 2. That's why he's back in 15th. Haven't seen the speed out of the 07 yet. Started second. That was as high as he's ran all day. kind of slowly slipped backwards through the top 10, was 10th at the end of the first stage. Then I believe he was either 6th or 7th after stage 2. 15th now, hasn't led a lap. 0.2 quicker that last lap for Heim over second place Chandler Smith and Lane Riggs. Even Friesen in 4th ran a 19.5, also 19.3 for Ankrum. It's just all dependent on where you are in traffic. How much clean air do you maybe have in the nose of your truck for that following lap? Where you're at is basically where you're at right now. It's been tough to pass all day, as it probably will be for the Cup race tomorrow and those heat races coming up still later tonight. 10 cars in each heat. Well, really 9 and 10. Kyle Larson still in Indianapolis, obviously, today for practice and qualifying for the Indianapolis 500, which he will be racing next weekend. Crashed for the second time in the month of May yesterday in practice. Had a couple of vicious accidents in the last 24 hours at Indianapolis. Was watching a bit of qualifying earlier today. We're going live for this truck race. Qualifying still continues as we have this stream going on, and that will end right about the start of our heat races, which will be a little less than 2 hours from now for the Cup races tonight. Again, 250 lap heats, and I believe that is on Fox Sports 2. So if you're unable to watch visually, you can tune in right here live on the channel. We'll have full flag to fly coverage of both races for you. 2.2 second lead for Heim over Smith. Pretty even gap between first and second, second to third, and third to fourth. Gio Ruggiero just passed Stuart Friesen for fourth several laps ago. Friesen's really starting to fall back, though. I mean, he's still in fifth, but he's now over 8 seconds off the lead. That last lap, he ran a 19.6. By far the slowest car in the top 10. By a few tenths of a second. Hopefully he doesn't have a problem. See if he can make it to the finish line. Struggle with that despite having good trucks over the last several races. He's had a couple of instances of not making it to the finish. So desperately trying to hang on. Daniel Hemrick, Sammy Smith have both been passed by Kyle Busch. Busch could flirt with a top 10. He's still a few seconds off of Rhodes in 10th, but in 13th now. 41 laps to go in the race. Corey Heim's lead is 2.7 seconds, and Riggs' gap back to the second place truck is about 1.2 seconds. Little contact nearly. Brent Cruz in the 44 underneath him. Off turn 4 as they battle. 44, Connor Jones got up against the wall at the end of stage 2 is the only caution then. $40 to go. Caution is out with 40 laps left, and it's the 22 of Tomasi again.
22
Caution is out.
of Tomasi off the pace again, and the yellow flag waves. And now, get another shot at pit road.
That is the fourth.
Telly got against the wall.
39 laps to go here from North Wilkesboro.
Well, here we go. Here's the bunny stop. You know, it's most likely for a lot of guys going to be the last stop of the day, unless you're in the back and you have nothing to lose when you get a caution within 15 laps or so. So this is like no mistakes. Don't speed. Don't have a slow pit stop. This is really important.
I don't know if we're going to see everybody pit here.
See what happened.
We've seen split strategy as we look back at what happened. 75 gets bumped into by Stuart Friesen. Knock you out of the way. And then he decides to hit the 22. Patrick Emerlin didn't hit it.
Well, there's like 22 that got tired out.
Lost the tire down. That's probably why he was backing up. It got really tight, and you see the sparks flying from the right front of that number 22 truck. Now, we've seen split strategy, Ryan. I mean, I think you got to come here.
I don't
I
know.
think you do. You're going to probably go back green with 34 laps to go, something like that.
There's still 17 trucks on the lead lap. I don't.
It's not enough, you know, kind of time to I mean, maybe he'll stay out, but they've run a lot of laps under green, so I'd be curious to see. I think most of the field's going to come.
A lot of laps under
I don't
green, but
know
the
if
tires
there's
haven't
any,
wore
like,
much.
chance for the
Couple
boxes
tenths
that
at the
would
most.
Take right sides right here. If you need tractors, like if you're Kyle Busch at 12, truck's pretty fast. Can you get the lead? Take it 2.
Maybe he just stays out too. That could be an
Maybe.
option.
Don't run past them.
Road is open. Let's see what we get.
Oh, yeah, good move.
Wow, I'm coming if I'm ever.
Everybody should come right
Yes.
now. Not Lane Riggs.
Chandler Smith is coming. Lane Riggs doesn't.
Chandler Smith,
Wow.
Josh.
Well, yeah, Chandler Smith said after 5 laps, he was about sideways in that truck, saying he needs more lateral light, more drive off. He's struggling right now to catch up to Corey Heim and get around him. We saw him during that last section, so he needs a little help in that 38.
That's a lot of green flag laps on these tires. This is going to be fun.
About
Yeah.
62 laps at green on those tires as you see a handful of others on pit road. Interesting, Michael, you said it. Split strategy.
Good strategy. I got cool truck staying out. Corey Heim, Lane Riggs, Frank Cruz, and Gio Ruggiero.
What will be the winning strategy? We'll find out. Stay with us.
Man, if more trucks stayed out, I do think that this is the right call. We haven't seen a lot of tire fall off. Chandler Smith was able to go from towards the back up to 3rd in stage 2, going green all the way through the stage, but that took him the entire stage to get to 3rd place. With this many laps to go, there probably shouldn't be too heavy of lap traffic if they were to go green the rest of the way after this. I wouldn't bank on there really being too many more yellows, if any at all, the way the race pace is gone. Only 4 cautions so far, one of the longest truck races of the season, but 3 of those were for incident, 1 in each stage. Corey Heim's dominated. We shall see if he's going to be able to hold on, though. Chat poll had Kyle Busch as the favorite to win the race. Chandler Smith will be 5th on fresh tires. Busch will be 11th. Everybody from 5th on back will have 4 fresh Goodyears. That green flag run, they had just over 60 laps. 101 to 40 laps to go, so 61 laps of green flag action on the tires for everybody who stayed out. Again, the 4 that stayed out of the pits were Corey Heim, Lane Riggs, Gio Ruggiero, and Brent Cruz. And then the front 4 on fresh tires will be Chandler Smith, Jake Garcia, Grant Enfinger, and Tyler Ankrum. Once again, our like goal was 50 on the stream, and we have hit that, but be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. It does help drive the content on YouTube to other related NASCAR content and helps grow the channel out, as well as hitting the subscribe button as we're on the road to 7,000. A lot of big things coming up on the channel with these live commentary streams. Again, doubleheader tomorrow. Again, we got heat races still to come later tonight. Again, 5 p.m. Eastern will be live for the NASCAR Cup Series heat races on FS2. Fox Sports 1 taking care of the Open and All-Star race coverage tomorrow. And that will be it for Fox's coverage of the Cup Series the rest of the year. They'll be heading to Amazon Prime next weekend with the Coca-Cola 600 practice qualifying on Saturday afternoon. And the 600 Sunday evening will all be live on the channel. We'll also be live for the Indianapolis 500 on Sunday afternoon before the 600. Doing the double. We tried last year. Unfortunately, we had to go one on a Monday and one on a Sunday, that was the year before. We had to do one on a Monday, one on a Sunday. Then last year there was rain, which rained short in the 600, so we'll look to try to complete all 1,100 miles on the same day. Just like Kyle Larson's going to try to do that next weekend. Here we go for the restart. Lane Riggs inside row 1, Corey Heim on the outside. Last time these two made contact with each other, Riggs overdrove the corner. We'll have 32 laps to go. Green flag is back in the air. Good launch on the restart for the 11. The 34 going to do everything he can to stay with him. Gio Ruggiero on the outside of row 2, trying to slip to the outside of Lane Riggs, but Riggs slides up clear for 2nd. Chandler Smith quickly gets by Cruz for 4th, and he looks to the inside of Ruggiero for 3rd, trying to make quick work. Smith on fresher tires is all over the back of his teammate for 2nd off turn 4. 3 wide and nearly pinched against the wall was Raja Karuth on the outside of the 52 and the 19. Still 3 wide through the center of 1 and 2 as they exit the corner. Big block by Giro on Tyler Ankrum opens up the outside for Brent Cruz to get by the 17 for fourth place. Garcia bouncing off the trucks in the middle, 3 wide. He's got Luke Baldwin underneath him. Stuart Friesen was, to the moment, on the outside. Friesen's fallen out of the top 10 now. Chandler Smith to the inside of Lane Riggs for second, clear off turn 4. Fresh tire advantage looking great for Chandler Smith, right back to where he was in second place already. And this might be what he needs to get by the 11 in the waning laps. 28 to go this time by. 60 lap difference on tires between Chandler Smith and Corey Heim. Green flag laps, that is, not counting the caution laps they were just running. Tyler Ankrum, also on fresh tires, is into 5th. Giro is the last of the 4 that were on the old tires. So he's probably going to get swarmed. Well, Chandler Smith, after getting to second, is still about 0.6 of a second off the race lead. Henry turns 3 and 4. Heim working the bottom of the racetrack on that end of the raceway. Lane Riggs on the older tires wasn't able to keep a lot of pressure on the 38 and the 11 when they were battling for the lead on the last restart before this, when we opened stage 3 up. The lead is 0.6 of a second. Make that 0.5 second now this time by at the line. 24 laps to go. Here in Wilkes County. Kyle Busch battling with Caden Honeycutt on screen. That battle is outside the top 10 still. Battle for 15th. Definitely a tough day for Kyle Busch. Won his first truck race of the season at Atlanta by a nose over Stuart Friesen, but looking like he's not going to finish inside the top 10 today without a lot of help in the waning laps. Ruben Topple, welcome into the stream. I see you in the chat. Last lap, Chandler Smith a little bit slower than our leader in the clean air of Corey Heim. And the tires they don't fall off much. And maybe the fresh tires initially in the restart were good for Chandler Smith. I still think it'll help rather than hurt. Now that he's back in second place again, is that just a little bit of a difference needed to actually complete this pass for the lead? There has been no fall off for the most part to this point in the run, but you would still think that there's some sort of an advantage for the 38 when knowing he didn't quite have the truck the 11 did on the long run. Short run speed, he was good enough to stay with them. But now in the long run speed, you would imagine he would be around the same, considering he's not going to have lesser tires than him the rest of the race. Lead is about 3 truck lengths off turn 4, maybe 2. Chandler closes in on the bottom of 1 and 2 with 19 laps to go. Corey Heim widens his arc out near the wall in the center of the corner. Smith gains ground. Heim with a little bit better run down the straightaway run in the top. Now we'll take the bottom away from Chandler on the inside, running the white line on the bottom of the track through 3 and 4. Turns 1 and 2. We'll see if he goes back to the wall, and he does. So to the wall in 1 and 2, the bottom of 3 and 4 is the line that Heim likes to run. And unless the 38 is able to get to the inside off of turn 2, Heim will be able to get his truck down in the bottom in 3 and 4 every lap. That's going to make it harder for Chandler Smith to run the bottom on that end of the speedway because he'll be in the dirtier air. Once he can get to the bumper and maybe move the 11 out of the way, is going to be his best chance to try to make this pass for the win. Testy battle, though, between Corey Heim and Chandler Smith, and you just wonder how clean is this going to stay between these two. Chandler takes a peek to the inside of 1 and 2, but again, can't stay alongside of him by the exit of the corner. Through the first half of the corner, he kind of gets underneath the left side of his truck just a bit. Tries a different line through 3 and 4. He looks like he might have lost a little ground, tried in the wider arc. Just doesn't seem to be as wide with the rubber laid in 3 and 4 as compared to turns 1 and 2. He's forced to have to run the bottom and right in that same line as Corey Heim. And Heim's not making a mistake. So far, he hasn't budged. He's further away from the 38 now than he was about 2 laps ago. So he's definitely doing something right. Got a couple of lap trucks in front of the leaders. Heim's going to have to alter his line. Couldn't take the bottom of the racetrack through 3 and 4. Chandler Smith was. Maybe a little bit close by Chandler Smith, if any at all. Chandler couldn't get all the way to the bottom in 1 and 2. Had to run more of the middle groove of the track. Another lapper. Goes to the bottom. Corey Heim has to run the middle. Same for Chandler Smith through 3 and 4. Battle on screen on the right side for those of you watching visually on FS1 between Grant Enfinger and Gio Ruggiero. That battle is for 6th, while the battle on the left side of the screen is for the lead between Corey Heim and Chandler Smith. Chandler trying to lane off the bottom this time through 3 and 4 again. He's doing whatever he can. He just can't get close enough to get to the back bumper of the 11. There's still time, but not a lot of it. Lane Riggs in third is still about 1.2 seconds off the 1.5 seconds off the lead. That last lap, Riggs was actually about a 10th quicker than our leaders. Problem is he's probably just a little bit too far back at this juncture of the race. 9 laps to go this time by. A 10th here or there isn't going to be enough unless these two in front of him make contact. Big wiggle by the 38 of Chandler Smith. He was driving that truck extremely hard in 3 and 4 trying to catch Corey Heim, and he was sliding the rear tires doing so. Just flat out overdrove the corner, and now he's about a half a second off the lead with 8 to go. He's doing everything he can, and he just is unable to do what he needs to do to get any closer to that 11. The track position was the name of the game. The guy who took the 4 tires is right back into second place where he was running at the time of the caution. Went from 5th to 2nd in about 2 to 3 laps. Settled in. He's been within a half a second of the leader pretty much ever since, but hasn't been able to stay alongside of him by the exit of a corner. Chandler gained a little bit of his ground lost that last lap. Ran a 19.186 to Heim's 19.311. Lane Riggs still 2nd and a half back in 3rd. That hasn't changed. Corey Heim's got another lap truck he's about to catch. That would be the 76. And hopefully that truck is going to get up out of the way. That truck's on the outside, and that's going to hurt Corey Heim's exit to turn number 4 here. Now he'll have to pass the lapper through 1 and 2, and he couldn't go to the outside. Heim was forced to run the bottom of the racetrack through turns 1 and 2, and Chandler Smith had a better run at him. That costed Corey Heim with the lap truck, and here comes Chandler to the back bumper of the 11. He moves him up out of the way. Caution's out further back, and I don't think Chandler Smith got to the lead before the yellow flag came out. That was close. Caution is out for Brent Cruz spinning. There was another truck also involved in that accident that had piled into Cruz after they spun off turn 2. That spin by Cruz happened simultaneously with the 38 and the 11 battling for the lead. The 38 put the bumper on Heim into turn 3, moved him up out of the way, was going to get the lead, but then the yellow flag waved, so we don't know who the leader was at the time of the caution yet. It appears like it may be Corey Heim, because they do have to go to the last scoring loop. It was not the time in which the caution was waved that freezes the field. That's only if a yellow happens on the white flag lap. Tire carcass on the outside of the track off turn 2. Not sure if that's from Cruz or one of the other trucks that slid trying to miss him. Corey Heim is still the leader. Barely, but he is the leader. Smith put the bumper to him. First chance he finally had a chance after the lap truck costed Heim a ton of time through 1 and 2. And the only reason is because Corey had to run the bottom of the racetrack in 1 and 2. He couldn't go to his preferred line on the outside. His truck wasn't rolling the bottom of the racetrack on the older tires as well as the truck on fresher tires of Chandler Smith behind him. And it almost costed him, but then got bailed out with a caution. Ben Rhodes was battling Cruz for 7th. Rhodes gets into Cruz entering turn 3, overdriving the entry to the corner. Both trucks slide near the wall. Cruz goes around. Rhodes up into the wall off of turn 2, and then slides into the side of the one as well after the fact. Those were the only 2 trucks involved in that incident. Well, actually, never mind. Stuart Friesen got caught up in it also. Friesen got in the back of the 99 when the 99 was sliding sideways trying to miss the one. So this is going to push us into NASCAR overtime for this Craftsman Truck Series race at North Wilkesboro Speedway. It's our 5th caution of the day and just our 2nd of stage 3. Our 4th for incident. We've had 6 lead changes. Corey Heim has dominated the race. He hasn't won a stage because of pit strategy and the way that all laid out, but he's led 157 laps out of the originally scheduled 250. He started on the pole. He's had the fastest truck when leading on equal tires, but Chandler Smith, with fresher tires behind him, is going to have 2 more laps to try to get back around him, even though it looks like he had him beat before the yellow flag came out. Had the caution flag come out a couple laps later, roles would have been reversed. So now Heim's going to have the preferred lane on the restart on the outside. Chandler, I would imagine, will be inside of row 1. And then what? Lane Riggs, Tyler Ankrum, probably going to line up in row 2. Seth Thomas, welcome into the stream. If you haven't hit the like button yet, be sure to do so. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Live commentary streams every NASCAR race weekend for Truck Xfinity Cup races as well as Cup practice qualifying. Or in the event of All-Star race this weekend, we've got heat races that we will be streaming live on the channel tonight for the NASCAR Cup Series. The main event drivers, the 20 locked into the show, will be battling for position through 250-lap heats tonight. Our first race will determine the inside row for the All-Star race. Second race, the outside row. Again, 50-lap heats. There will be 2 of them. 5 p.m. Eastern. And we will have 2 separate live streams tomorrow with the All-Star Open and the All-Star Main Event. All-Star Open will begin at 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. And our All-Star race at 8 p.m. Eastern at North Wilkesboro Speedway as well. Next weekend, we're going to have a lot of streaming. We had 5 live commentary streams this weekend. 5 again next weekend. Truck race next Friday night at Charlotte. 6 days from today for the next truck event. Xfinity Series will be back for the first time in a few weeks. For Saturday afternoon, Cup practice qualifying will be earlier that same Saturday before the Xfinity race, so part of a doubleheader Saturday, and then Sunday we'll be live for the Indianapolis 500 and the Coca-Cola 600. Well, we should know how overtime works here. We've seen a lot of it in NASCAR in recent years, especially at this level, and here we are again in the Truck Series. 2 laps, race leader gets to the white flag, and then a caution comes out. The race will end at the time of caution. And the field is frozen, dictating the finishing order. If they do not get to the white flag, we will have another attempt at a restart until we can at least get to the white. There will be unlimited attempts to that point. And obviously, if there is no caution, again, 2 laps on a race to the checker. Kind of surprised Lane Riggs took the outside of row 2. Because I feel like if Chandler Smith tries to run Corey Heim up the racetrack at all, he's going to get boxed in behind him, and that could open up the inside of row 2 for Tyler Ankrum, which is how Grant Enfinger had gotten to the lead back in stage 2 when Lane Riggs ran up the racetrack into Corey Heim, left the bottom open from the inside of row 2, and Enfinger went on to win the second stage. Ankrum got a win at Rockingham on fuel mileage this year, so he is locked into the playoffs already, but it'd be neat to see him win 2 races of these first 10 in the season. Playoff spot on the line. If anybody outside of the Lane Riggs 34 that is in the front row can win, front couple rows, I should say, First, second, and fourth on the restart have already won at least one race this year. Green flag in the air. Ankrum spins the tires on the restart from the inside of row 2. Chandler Smith didn't fire off well either. Lane Riggs to the outside trying to beat the 11 as he looks for a run off turn 2, but Corey Heim is clear. Riggs into second. Riggs trying to close on the back bumper of Corey Heim. Heim overdrives the corner and leaves the bottom open off turn 4. He slides the rear tires. Riggs is still under him. White flag in the air last lap. Riggs dive bombs it off into the corner, looking to take Heim's line away. There's a little bit of contact. Corey goes around, and as he spins down the back straightaway, he gets collected by another truck. Chandler Smith, Lane Riggs, racing back to the checker. Chandler Smith beats Lane Riggs. Riggs slides off 4, loses more time, and Chandler Smith is going to win. Chandler Smith wins it after Riggs and Heim made contact. Oh my gosh. Front Row Motorsports 1-2. But I can't imagine Corey Heim is going to be happy. That is the second time Lane Riggs ran into him today. And that time it costed him the win. Heim is hot. Dominated, and even at the very least, Chandler Smith would have beat him if it stayed green. He had a top 2 finish locked in. Corey Heim, with that spin, will be scored in the 17th place position, last on the lead lap at the finish. Raja Kruth, innocent bystander, ran into Heim when he spun off turn 4. He finished 15th as he was also collected. And we stayed green to the checker. There was no caution there. Everybody else was able to race around the spinning Heim truck. And again, Chandler Smith, the race winner, 1-2 finish for Front Row Motorsports here at North Wilkesboro today. You'll get to hear from our race winner, Chandler Smith. And maybe also from Lane Riggs and Corey Heim. If they get an interview queued up with them, you'll get to listen to that as well. Margin of victory, 0.6 of a second. We did finish under green. Overtime finish as we went a couple laps past our scheduled distance today, which was 250 laps originally. 1 hour, 46 minutes, 33 seconds total time on the race against 6 cautions, 1 overtime, 7 lead changes, 41 laps ran under yellow. And 5 of those 6 cautions were for incident. We'll go through the finishing order once we get an interview from our race winner. I'm sure Heim is going to have some choice words for Lane Riggs. Chandler Smith did not get a good launch on the restart. And actually fell back to third, and it took Lane Riggs overdriving the corner on Corey Heim again. Allowed for the 3rd place truck to get the win. Definitely a wild finish. Corey Heim walking down pit road. Looks like he's turning around now. They're definitely going to catch Corey Heim with an interview here, but first we'll hear from our race winner, Chandler Smith, who gets his 2nd win of the season, both on short tracks right around a half-mile length, Bristol and now North Wilkesboro. He's only the 2nd driver to have more than 1 win this year. Corey Heim with 3. Leads the most laps again, but can't get the victory. After today's race, Heim has led for almost 700 laps in the Truck Series this season in just 10 races. Just the 3 wins to show for still.
There it is. The helmet is off. Caitlin Mincy is with our winner.
Yeah, you talked about it. Chandler Smith made the choice to move back to the Truck Series, and now your 2nd win on the year. How were you and your team able to execute and make this one happen in such a historic racetrack?
Oh, we fought and clawed today. Had to start in the back, and I feel like this place, I mean, tires kind of matter, but they also kind of didn't. So first come from the back to mid-pack twice says a lot of how good this Ford F-150 was today. So I didn't think we were as good as the 11. Obviously, we had a tire advantage on them there. And he was still able to start checking back out. Then we got to him, nudged him out of the way, caution came out. But
Props to those guys. They had a really fast truck today. But that last restart, I did everything but the right thing. My teammate Lane Riggs executed perfectly, and we came out on the right end of the stick. So happy we could bring one home for Front Row Motorsports. Second win for Quick Tie Products, and second win for this new 3018.
Congratulations. Win of the year. Winner here at North Wilkesboro Speedway.
Chandler Smith saying I didn't do anything right on the last lap, but he was in the right place at the right time. We thought maybe he might be, and you can see things go wrong in turns 1 and 2 for Corey Heim.
Yeah, you see the 34 trying to pull a slider right there and just was never clear, and and Chandler Smith was able to capitalize under those guys while they were having some contact up the racetrack.
While walking along pit road with Corey Heim, spun from the lead in overtime. What are the emotions you're feeling right now? And I know you're looking for Lane Riggs. What's the conversation you want to have with him?
Just why. I mean, more than anything, he tried to do it to the 7 last week for the win, and he mission accomplished for him, I guess, this week, and it cost him 1 too. So, just brutal. I mean, we've given up so many of them this year after pretty much dominating most of this race. Obviously, the 38 was the only other guy that was rightfully good. So, felt like, he probably deserved to win if anybody, not the 34, but I got really loose in the 3. We struggled being loose on those short runs, and he had an opportunity and wrecked me. So, just disappointed.
Nice work.
Such a professional young man. He's obviously 4th time this season that he's failed to win after, leading most of the laps. Dominant truck, and yet was able to be professional with that interview.
Just a whole slew of camera people following Corey Heim.
Corey Heim has found Lane Riggs.
I don't know if Lane had much of a defense, and he just stood there and listened.
Yeah, quick conversation. Obviously, Corey just rightfully so, hopefully told him why he was upset. And you look back earlier in the race, right? Lane got into him on the bottom on the restart. So, the 11 got used up there. Before the last caution, the 11 got moved out of the way into 3 and 4. And then he ended up getting spun out, by the 34 at the end of the race. So, great interview by Corey Heim. Just understand. I know he's frustrated, but he did a great job of not letting that bleed over and just going on to next week.
Such a professional. Let's hear from the other side, Josh.
Well, down here with Lane Riggs right now, having a conversation with the crew chief of the 11th Scouts at the Deli. Just briefly spoke with Corey Heim as well. Lane, what did both of them say to you, and how do you process how the race ended up? Yeah, they're displeased. But I feel like, he got really loose into 3 and 4 and kind of gave the bottom up, and we were side by side on the front stretch, and I had a huge run, and I went bottom, and, I didn't fence him. I slid him up the track and, gave him 1 lane there. It's we're North Wilkesboro on the last lap for a truck win. I feel like I didn't really do anything wrong there. I think that roles reversed. It was hard racing all day, and I feel like everybody came out of there alive, and we had a good finish. And I really only care about me and my team. Thanks, Lane.
Well, these two have to face each other the rest of the season, Ryan.
Yeah. You see from Grant Enfinger's on board, and it's just, guys going for wins, things like that. When you heard Lane's side of it, say he didn't fence him or nothing, left him a lane. The only bad thing is the lane was the dirt and the dust up there. It caused the 11 to spin out. So you're never going to have guys agree on that. It's just part of it.
We'll hear from more drivers after this.
How old is Corey Heim? He's very young. He's got to be in his early 20s. I'll Google that for you real quick. We'll go through the finishing results here as well before we end the stream. Let you listen into a couple interviews. He is 23. He'll be 24 in July. Corey Heim, that is. Chandler Smith with a race win of 0.6 of a second in overtime over his teammate Lane Riggs. 1-2 finish for Front Row Motorsports. A 3rd place finish for Grant Enfinger, who also won Stage 2 today. Tyler Ankrum 4th, and Ty Majeski rounds out the top 5 in 5th. 6th place for Daniel Hemrick. Gio Ruggiero 7th. Caden Honeycutt 8th. Kyle Busch 9th, and Sammy Smith in 10th. Jake Garcia 11th, Tanner Gray 12th, Luke Baldwin 13th, Stuart Friesen 14th, and Raja Caruthan 15th. 16th for Connor Mosak, Corey Heim 17th. Last truck on the lead lap. By the way, I didn't mention Giro Ruggiero in the finishing order, who finished 7th, also won stage 1. Matt Crafton ends up finishing 18th, first truck a lap down. Then Patrick Emmerling 19th, Jack Wood 20th, Tony Breidinger 21st, Brent Cruz 22nd, Ben Rhodes 23rd, 24th for Andres Perez, Matt Mills 25th, 26th Dawson Sutton, Connor Jones 27th, Spencer Boyd 28th, Frankie Muniz 29th, and Jason Alexander 30th, Tyler Tomasi 31st, Ryan Roulette 32nd, Derek White 33rd, Norm Benning 34th, only 4 trucks DNF. Those were the last 4 on the leaderboard. And that wraps up today's live commentary stream of the Windows World 250 at North Wilkesboro. We'll be live again today at 5 p.m. Eastern for the heat races, which will be taking place on Fox Sports 2 at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. If for some reason it starts at 5:30 instead of 5 o'clock, then we'll start at 5:30. But if they start at 5, obviously we will be live at 5 for that. We're not going to have a pre-race necessarily between then as far as predictions, because again, no fantasy will be on the line, but 19 drivers will be racing for their starting spot to see who is going to start where for tomorrow's All-Star race, excluding the pole, which was won in qualifying by Brad Keselowski yesterday evening. So see you guys in a little bit. Thanks for watching today's Craftsman Truck Series live commentary stream. 3 more to go still in this All-Star race weekend. Congrats to Chandler Smith for getting the win. See you guys in a little bit.